Hi, everybody, and welcome to a slightly delayed Read, Watch, Play. I'm your host, Tony Cox, and with me, as always, is...
Clifford Parmenter.
Clifford Parmenter. So we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk comics, as usual. I even read some this time. We're going to talk some recent animated shows that have come out that you and I are pretty high on. And then we're going to talk a brand new board game that we're demoing here at Kerwin's and I think is amazing. And we're going to try to get you and Adam to play after the show tonight.
Woo, I like that Adam's our off-camera guy.
I love it. We got to get a microphone set up for Adam so he can interact with us a little
so he
bit.
can be our Roz.
He's a sound booth. Our Roz. Yes.
For Frasier.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Right on. There we go.
I was like, wait, like from Friends, but that's a different Ross.
No, that's Ross.
Ross. Oh,
Yeah.
Ross and Ross. Right. Yeah. So before we get into all that, Cliff, how was your week?
Very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
But good?
It was very interesting. There were good moments and there were sour moments.
Okay.
And it was an interesting week. But the good moments were good.
Well, good. I'm realizing as I'm looking into the camera that I should probably shave soon.
Just a good trim.
Yeah.
You know, the what do you call it? They have that thing on sale at
the Flowbee?
no.
The sucking cut?
The Flowbee. No. Not Norelco, the other company, like Crosair or whatever the one where they have the one just for your beard.
Yeah.
It's on sale at Rite Aid. And you get bonus plenty points if you do it.
Sure.
Those plenty points turn into dollars. I
Really?
saved $14 at Macy's the other day with my plenty points. $14.
Welcome to couponing with Cliff and Tony.
I love a coupon.
My wife she's so good. She's one of these people. When we lived in Virginia, she used to go to Harris Teeter. And hi, Greg, I love you too. Thank you.
Woo!
She used to go to Harris Teeter. She used to get manufacturer's coupons. She used to do the whole thing. You ever seen that show, like Extreme Couponing?
Of course.
Like my wife literally is one of those people where she would go in, she would literally buy like $200 worth of groceries and pay $34.
Those are the best days. One time and one time only, I got $300 in groceries at $80 from ShopRite, and I was crying to the car. I was so excited. I was so happy. It was tears of joy. My sister in Ohio is acquaintances with Joni from Extreme Couponing, who's like on 2020 every year for the holiday rush and couponing. And so anyhow, so that's what inspired me, you know? And like Joni has a book that's on Amazon that's like $9.99 just on the Extreme Couponing. And when Hurricane Sandy hits over here on the East Coast, she loaded up. She rented a bunch of rented trucks, of budget rented trucks, and loaded it up with supplies with her husband and people from her church.
Oh, wow.
And they drove straight to New York with those supplies to help people out. It didn't go very easily, but they did drive all the way and give supplies.
Wow. What about you, Adam? Do you coupon? A little bit? Groupon?
Groupon. I have such a great Groupon story. I can't even do it justice. I'm going to keep it short. One of the girls from the movie Girls Trip with Jada Pinkett was hanging out with her, and then she went to dinner with Jada and Will Smith, and she's like, wow, this is amazing. I'm like, look who I'm hanging out with. And they're like, what are you doing tomorrow? She's like, oh, I got a Groupon for a crocodile boat thing. Right? And they're like, oh, okay. So the next day she picks them, she goes to the hotel, not knowing she's picking them up, and they jump in her little $25 a day rent-a-car, and they start pulling away, and Jada's like, I don't know if I feel safe. These windows aren't even tinted. She's like, girl, it's a $25 rent-a-car. What did you think? Then they pull up to all these people waiting outside the boat for the Crocodile River thing, right? The Crocodile Swamp thing. And she's like, what are all these people doing here, right? And she's like, I told you this is a Groupon. She goes, I thought it was a group on a boat. And she goes, no, honey, it's a digital coupon for a group to participate in something. And she's like, are you kidding me? She goes, I don't know if we should do this. And Will Smith is like, oh, come on, we were going to go on this. We're going to go on this. Come on, we're going to do it. And she's like, look at your husband. I can't deny him the trip looking at crocodiles. So they get on the boat, And people start talking to him, and very funny, and like, oh, you're Fresh Prince, and he's like, yeah. And then they want to take pictures, and he gets up, and he goes, listen, everybody, my wife and I are here. We just want to have a good time like everybody else. Okay, so like let's just enjoy the crocodile hunting trip, whatever. And when it's over, if two of us feel like it, we'll do pictures and everything, right? And everyone cooled down and they enjoyed it like normal people. So of course the girl who brought them felt like a superstar because she's like, I got them to hang out with like regular people, and everyone had a good time. So at the end of the night, they took her to dinner, and dinner was fabulous, and they sent her right back home in her $25 a day rental car. And I'm not even doing the story justice.
The best part of that story was your Will Smith impression. That was the best part of that story.
I can't believe that I even went into one. I apologize.
Don't apologize. That was amazing. So speaking of impressions, can you do a Flash impression? Can you do a Barry Allen impression? You are wearing red.
Iris, even though we just kissed for the second time, I can't live with myself, and I have to go back and time some more.
There it is.
Sorry, but that is a good impression, isn't it?
That's a pretty good impression.
Sorry, everybody. Please beep me.
We're gonna have to pow that one out like we did last time. All right, well, let's get into it.
It doesn't make it any less accurate.
The Flash, number 28.
Yes.
What does it say? Negative?
Negative. Yes.
Negative.
Part 1. Because he still has all that negative Speed Force energy.
Gotcha. So this picks up so last time was the Flash Museum?
Last time they ended things in the Flash Museum. He brought Iris home. Iris doesn't want to talk to him.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay, which is fine. So now we have Barry's like running around with his new negative Speed Force powers, and everything is horrible.
So he kept them. So he keeps
right,
them.
because he's stuck with them. Okay. So he runs around Central City chasing after these cyclist speedsters, and like the city ground gets torn up. He blows up a cop car because he can't control the negative lightning. So, and you see how his skin is all gray and everything? Mm-hmm. So, like, when he turns back into, like, when he just takes the costume off and puts it back in his ring, like, his hands are, like, still, like, dark, even though the rest of him is turning back to white. So he's just, like, he has to chill so he can just go back to being Barry. Mm-hmm. So, basically, by the end of the issue, he goes after the speedster cyclist again, and they're like, we don't want any problems with you. We're running for our lives. He's like, who are you running from? Thanks for joining us, Zach. He's like, who are you running from, right? Zach. And it's like, it's shrapnel, and shrapnel attacks. Ooh. And shrapnel tries to kill these guys, and I'm just gonna leave you guys with that. But it's good. Like, I've been enjoying this constant ride we're on with the Flash. And Williamson wrote this issue, and I believe he actually wrote the issue of Action Comics I read. So this is last week's issue of Flash, number 28.
And it says on the cover here, it says, "Who is he? What does he want? Introducing Negative Flash."
Which is still just poor Barry.
Poor Barry.
Poor Barry.
All right. So next up, let's take a look at... where's my thing? There it is. How about we jump into... Sorry, the images got out of order.
Wolverines.
Generations. This is one of the Generations books. So much like the...
It's actually, this one's called The Best because they're the best at what they do.
What was the Hulk one called?
Strongest.
Right.
And then, of course, the Phoenix was the Phoenix. So this is, of course, is Laura All New Wolverine and Wolverine Logan. And this is at the time that Akiko is kidnapped. And Laura appears then.
Okay.
Right? Because all these people are appearing out of time.
Yeah. And so the present day heroes are going back in time.
Right.
To
and
an earlier...
unbeknownst to them.
Right.
And so he's fighting hand ninjas left and right. Mm-hmm. And she knows what's going on. And first Wolverine is kind of cool. And he's like even a little bit scared of her because he just, he hacks and slashes and fights. And she slices with precision, like precise hits, precise kill, everything. So he's like really freaked out by that. And then she's like, come on, we got to find Akiko. He goes, okay, I'm done pretending I'm okay with this. Right? Hey, Jacob. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Adam and Jacob.
And so he's like, I'm gonna pretend he's like, I'm gonna stop pretending I'm okay with this. Like, tell me. And she's like, I really can't. He's like, it's some time travel thing, isn't it? And she's like, you know. And he's like, you smell like me, and you have my mother's eyes, which I think is really weird about Wolverine saying you have my mother's eyes, because I don't understand. I would figure at this point in Wolverine's history, where Kiko's being kidnapped, he doesn't remember his actual mother.
Oh.
So I don't know if like history's been messed with a little bit, or if she really is just happened to be in another timeline. But you know, the Jean Grey one, she was clearly in her own timeline. So I was a little wonky on the writing on that. But otherwise,
do you think that's an oversight, like a canon oversight?
Either a canon oversight or something has changed in Wolverine's history that I am unaware of.
Gotcha.
You know, like maybe it happened after House of M or something like that, or it happened after Secret War, where, you know, Wolverine didn't not know about things. But anyhow, it's good. They even have a great fight with Sabretooth.
Ah.
They rescue Kiko. They get into a really complicated argument about it, you know, and he's like, if you are who I think you are, he goes, dealing with pain is the Wolverine family way, right? And she's like, go in there, go to that little girl, read to her, stay with her, blah, 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 everything, right? And he goes, well, come with me. Come in and enjoy dinner and everything. You don't have to stay for story time, but come with me. She's like, I can't. She's like, I can feel something pulling me away. And she's like, I miss you, Dad. And she hugs him, and then she disappears right in his arms. You know? And I'm like, and ever since I saw the freaking movie Logan, like, these two have this, like, ridiculous place in my heart now. You know, so like that moment of her, like after she's arguing with him and telling him you're like a scumbag father and like, I can't believe this. And she's like, but I miss you. So great issue. Again, another $5 book, but one I had a great time reading. So like, you know, it gets my approval.
After reading, 3 of these now, right?
Yes, I'm liking them. That's
a great. What do you think the purpose of them writing these are?
I have no idea because we don't know what's happening. Every single one of these ends with next, and it's like September, October comics that follow up from here. So something is happening. You know, they're having these moments in time. And I mean, like, come on. Like, they're like, oh, I don't want to affect anything. I don't want to affect anything. But the fact that, like, Wolverine met this girl who smells like him. Yeah. Jean met this girl who shares the power of the Phoenix, who's herself younger and from the future. How does this not resonate with these characters? How does that have no impact on their future?
So but as far as character-wise, do you think that these characters are getting any kind of resolution within their character arcs?
I think some of it is resolution. I think some of it is growth.
Okay.
You know, for Amadeus Cho Hulk, it's definitely growth. He had to face the fact that he thinks he's so smart, that he thinks he's so in control. I'm the one who figured out how to beat this Hulk thing. And then when push came to shove, the Hulk still controls him. Yeah. And he is now aware that I am probably in over my head and I really have to do something about this. So I like that set him up for whatever his next journey is. With Jean Grey, she learned that, you know, perhaps, you know, that she feels the Phoenix is stalking her in the present, and yet she's thinking, perhaps I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to turn into Dark Phoenix. Yeah. So all of them are good. And then this one with Laura, mostly I feel is closure with Wolverine. You know, and I don't think she ever called him Dad before. I think this was like a big moment for her.
That's interesting. It's really cool that they're able to. You know, because it's so funny because as comic book fans and stuff, you're always like, you know, we always want connections, we always want team ups, and I think that it's really cool that they're doing this in the way that they're doing it, and I really hope that it does lead somewhere and that it does all come together and is worth it. And even if it isn't, it sounds like there's some wonderful moments in these books that hopefully will live on beyond this event. And beyond, you know, the
well, let me tell you, Laura does some savage stuff to Sabretooth. So like that can be cool. That could come around with, hey, I remember when you did that thing to me in '76. Boom.
Wow. All right. So let's jump into some more DC here.
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
So
Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps.
But more importantly, on this cover, you notice Orion, son of Darkseid, and a whole bunch of Kirby-esque dudes in the background. And to freak you out even more, okay, it's Fall of the Gods Part 1, Metal. So in this weird story, talks about the old gods' metal awakening. So those dudes have awakened, and they're coming after Orion. And of course, the Green Lanterns get involved, and they don't know what to do with themselves.
This didn't tie in to the New Gods one shot that came out for the Kirby.
No, absolutely not. Those are
because that was its own thing. That was its own celebration thing. So.
However, it does tie into the last time the New Gods met with the Green Lanterns, because Orion immediately starts asking for the White Lantern, and Kyle's like, "Oh, I'm here. I'm not a White Lantern anymore, so I can't speak to the Source Wall. So here we at." And fun ensues. Great issue. I approve. All of these are. I think Flash is a soft woo for me because I wanted it to go faster. I write, and it went fast, but the story didn't go fast. You know, it's odd. And you want to know something really funny about Fast?
Yeah.
About the Flash? Since the 90s, Flash is always the fastest book for me to complete, and I have no idea if that's ever intentional or not.
Really?
Yeah, I burn through those Flash comics. I don't know why.
It's because they're embodied with the Speed Force.
You would think. It's just really funny. It's just organized coincidence.
So a soft woo on Flash, Generations Wolverines.
Yes, strong woo. Yes,
and Hal Jordan. And
oh, absolutely. This is part 1. Jump in, get it.
So how does this tie in with metal?
I have no idea, but they're throwing the word metal around like nothing, and I'm like, and
are they referring to nth metal?
No, these are
Just
old
metal?
gods who are the metal of old, and that's it. Doesn't say anything else.
Oh, wow.
And so maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but they're very free throwing the word metal around for the whole comic.
Wow. All right.
So, but it was good. On its own, it's still a good-looking story.
Awesome. Let's talk about one that I read today. So this came out this week. It's Star Trek: The Next Generation, Broken Mirror number 3.
Oh my God! Is that Wesley?
So that is Wesley Crusher, and it's unclear as to who's in the booth. That uniform looks something like Picard's, but I don't think that that's supposed to be Picard in there.
Does this happen in the comics?
This does not happen in the comic.
Oh, that's upsetting.
There's a reference to somebody being thrown in the agonizing booth, and I think that's what this is referring to, but it never happens on screen. So
okay.
I mean on the page. So
of course, Dr. Crusher would be
Dr. Crusher in a black,
like a menacing harm, like Desaad in the Star Trek universe.
Yeah. So we pick up after Picard has had his bar fight with Riker and convinced him to help him steal the brand new ISS Enterprise D, which I don't know if I mentioned, but it's modeled after the future Enterprise from the series finale, All Good Things, with the 3 warp nacelles and the giant phaser lance out the front. So this is like one bad looking ship, right? So
we're gonna destroy
the Klingons. And we're gonna destroy the Cardassians because this is in the Mirror Universe. Klingon Cardassian alliance has pushed the Terran Empire back into the Sol system and has effectively told the rest of the galaxy that the Terran Empire is done. Mm-hmm. Like they're destroyed, which isn't necessarily the case. So this ship is going to, bring back the glory of the Empire.
Which, as we know from future episodes, probably not.
So, well, here's the thing is we don't know when in the timeline this takes place. This could take place at the same time as the Deep Space Nine episodes that we've seen. And that's why in the Deep Space Nine episodes, we're so far removed from Earth that the lie
can
that
succeed.
The Terran Empire has been destroyed.
I'm going to vote this takes place prior to, just based on the age of Wesley.
That's possible. That is possible. I would guesstimate that this takes place probably 3rd season TNG.
Probably.
First through 3rd season, somewhere in there, which is before which is before those episodes in Deep Space Nine. So we start off where the Enterprise is about to be launched. The new captain, Captain Edward Jellicoe, which if you've ever seen the two-part TNG episode Chain of Command, where Picard is captured by the Cardassians, he's sent on a mission with Crusher and Worf, and because it's such a secretive mission, they actually bring in a new captain for the Enterprise, and it's Edward Jellicoe. And in fact, Ronnie Cox, who plays Edward Jellicoe, is the only person besides Captain Picard to ever do a captain's log. Like he's the only non
main cast.
He's the only non-main cast member to ever
right,
do a
because I'm
captain's
sure
log.
that Riker got to do it.
Riker did it in Best of Both Worlds as the acting captain, and so on and so forth. So, but he's the only non-regular actor to do it. And when he comes in, the first thing he does is he tells Riker to change from a 3-shift rotation to a 4-shift rotation. Riker doesn't think it's a good idea, and then doesn't tell him, and then he's expecting the 4th rotation to be on, and then he's like, look, they're going to be on duty in 2 hours. You better have them ready. And I want you to do battle drills and all this stuff. So it's like he changes up stuff. He changes the science stations on the bridge to like battle stations and stuff. Like he's got his own way. And instead of saying engage, he says get it done. Like that's his phrase, right? So the guy is a jerk on the show and in the episode. I love that episode because I love seeing the crew sort of like squirming under the command of this new guy. He's the one that tells Troy, don't wear that civilian clothes, wear a uniform on the bridge. So she starts to wear a uniform, which is interesting. Although I think Marina Sirtis had a little bit more to do with that than Edward Jellicoe. I think she wanted to wear the uniform.
Right, she wanted the jumpsuit. And which, by the way, I liked her. It's funny. I liked her in the civilian jumpsuit because it did say ship therapist.
Yeah, I like the dress. She wore this. Like turquoise.
The dress. Yeah,
I really liked that. If there's an asymmetrical cut, it would look. This is Cliff and Tony talk fashion.
You know what? People think I'm crazy, and that's all well and good. Like I've said several times, I love the way that Karen Page is dressed in the Daredevil series. I love the way that Joy Meacham is dressed in the Iron Fist series. Like, I know that doesn't appeal to everybody, but like, if these things catch my eye, I look at Karen Page and I'm like, wow, she looks like, I love the way she's dressed. She looks work appropriate. Like I tell my students, if you want to be work appropriate but still feel feminine, this look can work for every body type. They make pencil skirts for every size. Everyone can do this. And then the same thing with Joy Meacham. She looks like a woman of her stature and wealth and privilege when she's dressed. I love it.
Well, the interesting thing is, having worked in the film industry and working with, wardrobe and stuff, I realized watching things that wardrobe informs the character, and you can get more out of it if you understand.
I mean, when you have like a zero budget and one of your characters is supposed to be wealthy, like how do you do it? But like you go to those shops where high end people dump off their garbage, and you start making somebody look rich, right?
So
Tony's like, I've been there.
Maybe. So Edward Jellicoe comes on board. He takes command, and they're about to have their maiden voyage. Meanwhile, Picard is on the Stargazer. He's had Deanna Troi / his Inquisitor weed out all of the non-loyal members of his crew. So he's got about 150 crew members. They've turned one of the shuttle bays into a giant transporter, and they're going to beam them to the Enterprise at the appropriate time.
Yeah.
Now, on board the Enterprise is Riker in command, and so he's worked it out so that anti-Jellicoe crew members are on duty during this send-off, and Leah Brahms is on board as well, and she helped design the Enterprise and build it, and Geordi convinces her to help them in this endeavor. So then they decide to leave. This is like it's great. I mean, this is so great.
You're like, I want this to be an episode so bad.
I'm okay. I don't need it to be an episode,
but it would have been great.
And the thing is, Woodward. Gosh, I forget his first name, but hey Zane, you're very welcome. We're actually going to be talking about Dice Forge later in the episode. Zane stopped in the other day, and I taught him Dice Forge, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you, and come on in next month. We'll have a new game on the demo table. So so Woodward he nails the expressions of these characters because his artwork is watercolored. It's so
Lifelike.
It's so lifelike. They really do a he really does a great job of nailing the expressions of the actors in these comics. And what's great is I see the expressions that he draws or that he paints and that he creates.
I think it's clearly
and
he's
I'm
been
like,
watching episodes.
I'm like, I know what episode that's from. Like, there's one where Picard has a scowl on his face, and I'm like, oh, I know that episode that he scowls. You know, like they do such a great job, and he's the artwork is fantastic. I've really come to appreciate his artwork on this series, and. So Jellicoe's there. They're getting ready to go. They're gonna land. On the bridge. Not on the bridge. They're gonna land on the Enterprise, and they've decided to leave all of the crew members that aren't loyal on the Stargazer and disable it. Right?
Leave them adrift.
Yeah.
With some life support.
Basically, they took the engines and the weapons offline. So the Enterprise starts to leave, and thrusters, and then they beam over. Leah and Geordi. So first thing Leah does is she secures the computer core for Picard. Then Leah and Geordi go to engineering and secure engineering, and then they go to Troy and a couple of soldiers go to the transporter room, and she's like. Who's the transporter chief? And the guy's like, I am, and they kill him, and then, or maybe it's not Troy, it's the other girl. It's the other girl that she's with. That's right. Troy says, Lieutenant, please, and so she steps up and she's like, who's the transporter chief? And the guy's like, I am, and she kills him, and then she goes, all right, who's next? Who's the transporter chief? And then they're all like, you are. You're the transporter chief. and she's like, that's right. And so,
That's so great.
It's so great. And then Picard goes to the bridge. They walk on the bridge. They shoot everybody except Jellicoe. They shoot a couple of people who draw their phasers, and then Riker. Riker
because
says,
everyone else is been placed by Riker to
right. So anybody who and then Riker says, "Hang on, if anybody here doesn't like the way Jellicoe does stuff, now's your opportunity to support us." And so everybody backs off, and then Riker takes his weapon, and Jellicoe's pissed off, and he's like, blah, 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 Picard, blah, 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 you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And then Picard's like, Data, take him to the bridge, to the brig. And then there's a great shot of Data pulling Jellicoe by the hair, literally dragging him into the turbo lift and taking him to the brig. And then Picard takes over, he sits in his chair, he's like, yeah, this will do nicely. So Riker, Data, and Barclay all take Jellicoe to the brig, and then afterwards, Data's like, sir, can we have a word with you? And they talk to Riker, and they're like, an ambitious officer might see this as an opportunity to continue his rise. We would advise against it. Picard is protected. Don't test us. And Riker argues with Data aren't you in search of humanity, and aren't you trying to figure stuff out on your own? And he's like, I am, and we can find that out together. We can find out my limits together if you'd like. And that just shuts him down. He's like, all right, whatever. So they go back, and then they bring Jellicoe out of the brig into the.
This Data doesn't sound like he has a lot of humanity as it is, dragging somebody by the freaking hair.
It's so funny because he's so Data, but he's like. He just finds that violence and anarchy and the Terran Empire way is just the fact of it's the way you should be.
Right, but only because he hasn't been exposed to anything else.
Possibly,
because
yes.
It's just Data. There's just a matrix in there waiting for information.
True. So they bring Jellicoe out. First they send the Inquisitor. I love that they call her the Inquisitor.
Does she totally play it up too?
She doesn't talk much. She's just very menacing, and she's just she's very short.
Well,
and
I guess does the artist play it up? Is what I'm saying.
Yes,
she's just very menacing and very present.
Yes, and so she's sent to go, basically go through the crew of the Enterprise and weed out all the non-loyals, and by the way, the one thing I missed is the whole Crusher Wesley storyline is every time Jellicoe comes in and talks to Crusher before he goes to the bridge, and Wesley's acting all weird. He's acting like he has something wrong with him, and she mentions that Wesley has to be there for his treatment and her research. And then when Jellicoe leaves, he like straightens up and he's fine. And then when Picard comes in, he's all like weird again. And then Picard says, he says, oh, and they know each other, and they reference Jack Crusher's death again, which is Wesley's father, and in the Prime timeline was Picard's lieutenant on the Stargazer, and Picard says, Wesley, Jellicoe's not here anymore. You don't have to pretend. And then he straightens up, and then Wesley and so Picard is asking Beverly to join him, to stay and join him, and Wesley goes, it's a matter of numbers, we should join him. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like super smart, and he's like, I've run the numbers, I pulled all the service records of all the people that Picard has assembled, and they all of their missions have been profitable and successful, and this is the best crew for this ship, and we have the best success at doing what Picard says we could do. And so he convinces her to stay with the ship, and then at the end they drag Jellicoe out into the shuttle bay, and they tell him something, or they have a little argument, and then Picard just sends him off out the airlock
to his death,
and that's it.
Lex Luthor, Gorilla Grodd style.
Yeah, exactly. So huge woo. I'm loving this series. The art is amazing. The writing is very good. The art though alone is worth this book. I think they really nail the expressions. It looks like the real actors and the real characters. The expressions. I mean, he just does such an amazing job, and the story is great. And you get to see this storyline that we never got to see in this era of the Mirror Universe that we never got to see on screen. So huge woo for me. So,
it looks great.
Yeah, it's really good. So let's bring it back to DC.
Superman.
Superman.
All right. So this is a very strange issue of Superman. So Superman is looking for a young man, and
is this now was last time we spoke was it Superman that did when they went to Washington D.C.?
Yes.
Was that Action Comics?
That was
Superman. Okay.
Yeah. So Superman's looking for a missing young boy. And he's trying to get a track on him and asking other youth in the city.
Hey Rob, as a matter of fact, a new issue of I Hate Fairyland came out this week, and I almost read it and was almost going to showcase it on the show. So I'll tell you what, I will probably get a trade for it, and when we get the trade, I'll recommend it. And we can talk about it then. But there's actually a couple issues here waiting for you, so if you want to come in and grab it.
Isn't this week's Fairyland called I Love Fairyland?
It's called, so the censored version is called I Love Fairyland, and the uncensored version, it's crossed out and says I Fluff Fairyland, which, as you know, is fluff is the replacement for a swear word in the book.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, anyway, so Superman.
So Superman's looking for this kid. And then we see this creepy freaking kid in this girl's bedroom, hunched like a gargoyle at the edge of her bed. And she's like, you're scaring me, I'm afraid. And he's like, that's exactly what I want. And then he takes her away as Superman finds him on the street. And he's like, hey, I've been looking for you, whatever your name is. And it's like, please, let me help you. And he's like, you see, Superman, I don't want your help. And then his eyes light up yellow, and he zaps him, and then the little girl zaps him, and they just beat him down and pummel him, and then they fly off. And Superman's just beaten up, and the police come, and they're like, what's going on? And he's like, I don't know. In the meantime, I already feel like I think I know what's happening.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Do we know what's happening? Do you know after reading the book?
Of course I know.
Okay, so I'm going to say, does it have something to do with Shazam's power or something?
Nope.
No, but that sounds like something that might because what I'm thinking is there's some evil Shazam power that's coming into these kids.
Wrong.
Okay.
Wrong DC mythology you're pulling from.
Is it something with the gods, like Zeus or something?
Wrong mythology you're pulling from.
Wrong mythology.
Remember, there's multiple mythologies in the DC universe.
It's not
some that are unique to themselves.
It's not something from Watchmen or something, is it?
No. So anyhow, the kids take off.
Yeah.
So Superman goes to investigate, and now the creepy little boy is like floating in the air, you know, like legs crossed with a giant yellow radiant web of children caught up who he's sucking the life force from, you know? And they're all screaming and everything. And he's like, don't you understand? It's you I want, Superman. It's you. And he's like, these children, he's like, you're sucking their life force. They're all afraid. He goes, you're afraid too. And he's like, I know what you are. Parallax. And then like Parallax emerges.
Oh, you know what? There was another cover with a Yellow Lantern Superman on it. I should have.
Well, that's
guessed.
exactly what happens.
I should have guessed.
I didn't even see that cover. So the end of the issue is he's like, I finally have because Superman wants to save the children. He's like, I finally have Superman's body. Nothing will ever defeat Parallax. And he gets blasted in the shoulder. And the last page is Sinestro descending like, you forgot about me. Superman, you have something I want.
So Parallax possesses Superman.
Yes. So they can be virtually indestructible. So he'll never have to worry about his host decaying or anything like that.
That's some serious stuff.
Because Superman gets powered by the sun, so
Right.
Parallax is like, this is everything.
So is he? Did Sinestro shoot it out of him, or is it? Still,
No, it's just right,
just
shot
like
to the
knock him
shoulder.
down or something.
And next issue, Super Parallax versus Sinestro.
Woo! I want the hero click.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes I feel like they do it just so
we can make
we
the
can
hero
get a new
clicks.
action figure and a new hero click out of it.
Yeah.
Because who wouldn't want to buy Sinestro Superman?
I know. Have they ever? Has Superman's never been a member of the
Sinestro
Corps?
Nope.
No, right?
Never. Wow. So this is good, and you know Doug Mankey's art here is excellent.
Oh, wow.
with the whole team of colorists and everything.
Oh, that looks great. That looks so good.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, the cover was basically him with a yellow lantern.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's Sinestro descending on the scene.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
It's beautiful.
So, woo boo.
Oh, it's a woo.
It's a woo, baby.
It's a woo, and for $2.99, it's a big woo.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about my price points.
So let's keep it in the super family. Let's talk about Supergirl.
Oh my god. All right, it's like my favorite comic ever.
Really?
Oh my god. First of all, Steve Orlando's writing it, so bam.
Yep.
Okay. And this issue is just so good. Like, all right, so Supergirl is a teenager. Okay. Her adopted Earth parents, the ones from the TV show, are both active members of the DEO and her life.
Okay.
Right? So she's like Supergirl, she is Kara, and going to school. She's a DEO person. She's also an intern for Catco.
Okay.
So Cat is constantly messing with her.
Did Rebirth start that?
Yes.
Or did they go into it?
Rebirth
so
started
Rebirth took clues from the TV show. Okay.
Absolutely. But it's fine because
That's
Cat
fine. That's okay.
Cat's already part of Superman's mythology.
Yeah.
It's basically like all the elements that we know of were already there.
Yeah. Which I'm okay when they do. I don't mind when they
yeah.
do that. It's just when they as long as they still continue to tell their own stories and do their own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, there's National City, which I've never been a fan of because, like, when I grew up and I was reading Supergirl comics, from before the John Byrne era of Superman, Supergirl worked out of Chicago.
Really?
And I thought that was great. I thought it was cool that Supergirl worked out of Chicago.
I always get confused with the geography of the DC universe.
Right, because, first of all, the DC Universe didn't have that many new cities. Now it's crazy. So you've got New York City, Metropolis, Gotham. All of them are on the East Coast.
Chicago.
Right?
Chicago's
Right.
on
No,
the East Coast,
no
but-
one's working out of Chicago or Detroit. But the Justice League of America worked out of Detroit for a while. When they had Steel and Gypsy
Yeah.
and Vixen.
Central City.
Yep, and then there's
National
Central City, and they added National City more recently, and then when they merged universes, Keystone City is right next door to Central City.
Coast City.
Coast City for the Green Lantern.
So what's interesting is I believe it was Death of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So when Doomsday is making his charge across America, the news programs in the comic would put up the map of the U.S. and Metropolis was where Jersey City is.
Yeah,
which I
and
thought
then
was so
Jersey is
depressing.
moved.
A little bit, and then I swore Gotham was where Chicago was.
No, because
But-
Gotham is across the railroad from Metropolis.
Has that always been how it is in the comics?
Since after Crisis, yes.
Okay.
The original Crisis.
So when we saw that in Batman v Superman, it wasn't totally...
No, but I mean, like, in the comic, it was always the railroad separated them, and, like, but there was distance there. And here, it was like, oh, let me hop in my car and get to Metropolis in 2 hours. Or let's take a ferry for 20 minutes across the water. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. You know? But I'm like, man, how do we ignore Batman's existence in Man of Steel when they're so freaking close together?
Well, I don't know.
We don't really ignore his existence because, of course, Batman vs. Superman addresses it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so Supergirl's just a great issue. Cat is messing with her a little bit.
Are those kryptonite bullets?
Yes. And so Emerald Empress from the 31st century, a Legion of Superhero villain, right? She
She has the Eye of Agamotto, right?
has the Eye of Ercon.
It was a joke.
I hope I'm saying that right,
comic
because
joke.
as a Legion fan, I should know. But I have to apologize to one of the writers when I'm done with this. So anyhow, so Kat is messing with her and zapped her off a ledge, which is ridiculous. But Kat's messing with some new technology.
She zapped her off a ledge on purpose?
Yeah, but she's like, "Oh, you're Supergirl. You're gonna be fine."
Oh yeah, first page.
Yep.
Jeez. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, Kat's a little vicious. But she's mostly seems to be a good person. So anyhow, Emerald Empress wants to get home to the 30th century. Apparently she found, there we go. Apparently in an earlier comic, she found Saturn Girl in Arkham Asylum. And Saturn Girl gave her a hint, and she's like, "Oh, Supergirl's my problem. Like, Supergirl is the key to what I really want," which I'm still trying to figure it out. So of course, Supergirl's powers have been out of whack the whole issue since she got zapped by Cat. I don't know what one thing has to do with another because it doesn't pay off. But she's walking through the hallway in school, and the ground just breaks because she can't control her super strength, and she just chasms right in the hallway, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?"
Did she change her hair color?
Yeah, that's her Kara Danvers brunette hair.
Does she dye it before she goes back and forth?
I don't know if she's using a wig or she has the comb that Clark used to use that dyes your hair when you brush. So that would be a good explanation. So anyhow, Emerald Empress decided to create her own Fatal Five to go after Supergirl. Because in the 31st century, she's part of the Fatal Five with
Right.
Mano and Validus and Tharak. So she assembled Magog, Indigo Nine, Selena. Selena remember the Supergirl villain Selena from Supergirl the movie in the 80s? The Sorceress Selena, played by Faye Dunaway.
I saw that movie.
Anyhow, point is,
Yeah.
she got the Sorceress Selena.
Yeah.
And the Sorceress Selena took a hair and summoned her own Solomon Grundy.
Solomon Grundy.
Yep, and
One of my
Magog.
favorite characters in the DC universe.
Yeah, so
Misunderstood.
and even more so here because he really doesn't know. And Magog is just talking to him like he's garbage. He's like, "Come with me. That sorceress summoned you to help us." And Grodd's like, "What?" Grodd's like, "Rrr." Supergirl's dad is in this issue. They've tried to replace all the cybernetic parts from when he was Cyborg Superman with some,
This is her
genetic
real,
material.
This is her real father.
Her real father. Now, here's the thing. They're still going along with the story that he was some sort of cyborg Superman. I just don't know how they're going to run with that.
Wow. This looks really good.
It's great. The issue's freaking great. Yeah, again, I love it. Super woos, fantastic. Supergirl's got to fight her own Fatal Five. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
I love everything about it. Magog sees that his downfall is the Superman family, so he's all down for taking down Supergirl.
Wow.
Because that's what Emerald Empress showed him from the future.
Did you want to look at some? You have some pages here.
Yeah, so that's Supergirl's dad in the tank. So that's Supergirl trying to talk to her father in the tank. She's like, "I'm going through so much stuff right now, Dad. I'm going through so much stuff. You know, she's like, and I know you should be able to hear me, but you won't answer me. So she says, I think you're too ashamed to accept my help. Right? But on the other hand, is he actually in there festering with a whole bunch of anger because she defeated him? We don't know. We have no idea what's going on there, but he should hear her according to
What's
Supergirl.
his name?
Zor-El.
It's just Zor-El? He
Right,
doesn't
because
have
his
a
brother
first
is Jor-El. So he's Zor-El.
But isn't she Kara Zor-El?
Right, because she's a daughter.
Okay.
You know? And then, right, and Kal-El's a male, so Kal-El.
Oh, that's how their names work.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Because notice how the women get pretty definitive names.
Yep,
She's
there's
Kara.
a
Her
five.
mother's Allura. No, her mother is Zor-El and Allura. Oh, wait, Jor-El. No, Jor-El and Allura.
I've forgotten her name. I've forgotten. Alora's her aunt, isn't it?
No, that Astra's the aunt, and she's only for the TV show.
Oh, right.
I think Allura's her mother. Laura is Superman's mother, of course. Yes. So yeah, there's the whole Fatal Five behind us that the Emerald Empress has assembled.
That's awesome.
You know, I don't know why I keep wanting to call Indigo by a number. You know, I think it's because I know she's a form of Brainiac.
Right.
So like, I keep wanting to be like, oh, she's Brainiac 9. Yeah, Justice League of America.
So Supergirl, woo boo.
Woo, of course, big woo, big woo.
Right.
Big woo. And of course, for $3.99, you get your digital download for free. You know how I love that.
At last, the quest for Ray Palmer.
Yes, Justice League of America number 12.
Panic in the Microwave.
Microverse.
Microverse, that's what I meant.
Because because he finally found a signal. Ryan Choi triangulated Ray Palmer's signal from his belt through the Microverse and found a signal looking for help.
Very cool.
Now, in the meantime, while he's exploring that concept with Caitlin, Ray, and Xenos, the guy that they took in from New Jersey, you know, who was building all the weaponry and now is fixing up their new headquarters, they're having date night watching movies and drinking wine, and I absolutely love everything about it.
Wow.
And of course he's like, you should still call your mother Ray. He's like watching old movies isn't gonna help me forget New Jersey. You should call your mom. I told you she has a new family and I don't want to talk about it. But like they're sitting there like just, and I love it. Yeah. I love all about it. I tweeted Steve Orlando about it. He liked my tweet, made my afternoon.
Awesome.
And then of course, so Ray is like, okay, we gotta go find Ray Palmer. You know this is what I want to do. And Batman's like, okay, we got like 3 other open cases. You realize this, right? He's like, Killer Frost just fought some dude in Centurion armor who vanished on her. The might behind the mirror is coming for us. We don't even know what that is. And they're granting wishes left and right. He's like, and he goes, then we got this other thing. He goes, so let me sort this out. By the way, Yvonne Haste drew the whole issue and I love it, right? So he goes, so he went to a bar to go straighten Lobo out. Lobo's like, when are you gonna like give me what I want? Give me a place. Give me a place where the main man can be happy. And he goes, listen, as soon as this is over, I need you for a fight that's coming. As soon as that's over, you can go. Of course, there's Caitlin with her mystery battle.
Wow. Interesting.
So there's all these open cases. So he goes, this is what's going to happen. He's like, Vixen, Canary, you're staying here. Me, Lobo, Ryan, and Caitlin are going into the Microverse to find Ray Palmer. The rest of you, stay here, keep your eyes open. So they go into the Microverse. Their Microverse ship gets blown up. Of course, they have to fight for their lives, and some mystery man who's hooded shows up and rescues them at the end. And of course, Ryan says, "Oh my goodness, Dr. Palmer, is that you?"
Is it?
Well, we don't know because he's hooded, so it's great. Dun dun dun.
Whoa.
Professor Palmer.
He does have an Atom thing on his...
Oh, yeah, and I mean, it's probably him, but it's the fact that he's cloaked is so great. Like, it's a little bit ominous. Like, is it really him or not?
That's really cool, though.
And his distress signal said, don't trust anyone.
Ooh.
I was betrayed. So, very interesting. But yeah, the art is gorgeous. The book
Oh, it
was
looks so
great.
good.
It's so good. It's so good.
So Woo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, look at that. Amazing.
It's great. It's great.
All right. So let's move on to another one that I read. So this is a one-shot, Rogue One. I believe it's a one-shot. This is Star Wars, Cassian and K2SO. This is their origin story of how they met.
My favorite duo in that movie.
They were so good. K2SO was probably my favorite character in all of Rogue One.
It makes me laugh the most. I mean, that's for sure.
He definitely has some funny lines in this. So Cassian is on this mission where he needs to get Imperial intel, and it's something they mention it, but it's really not important as to what they're looking for. But basically, it's and he's got these two aliens with him that appear to be siblings. And I think it's two sisters or a brother and a sister, but they look very close, and they don't talk. They communicate through pheromones. So every time he says something that they don't agree with, it like doesn't smell great, and he comments on that. So he's like, he says something to them, and then he's like, well, by the way it smells, I'm assuming you don't get it.
You agree with
you're
me.
mad, yeah. So, but they're really good at hacking or salvaging or something, and so they're on this planet. It's not one that I recognized, and they discover that there is a Star Destroyer that has somehow gotten into a privateer's hands or something. So it's basically like sitting in this giant garage, like on this planet. But what's weird, and when they fly into the planet, they don't expect there to be a lot of stormtrooper activity. But when they get there is, and there's a group of stormtroopers that has an Imperial droid that looks just like K2SO, and it turns out it is K2SO. And so they sneak into this giant space garage to steal secrets from this Star Destroyer. But while they're in there, it turns out that the stormtroopers saw them or caught them or whatever, so they're coming in after them with K2SO. And they sort of like hide in the Star Destroyer, and the troops go by, and then there's one, and then he makes a noise to distract K2SO to come over, and when he comes over, he tries to pull this move. Basically, K2SO is like, I'm going to arrest you and detain you. No, he comes over and he says, hey, what are you doing? You look like rebel spies or whatever. And he's like, or he approaches him, and Cassian's like, come here, arrest me. And he's like, you seem awfully anxious to want to be arrested. And he's like, just come here. And he's like, fine, I'll detain you, and if you resist, I'll kill you, or I'll terminate you. And so Cassian like does this move, and he gets to the back of him, and with the plans of shutting him down, but then he can't find K2SO's off switch, and he's like, wait, I thought this model had the off switch here, and he's like, I think that's personal information or something like that. He's got these very K2SO responses,
Like, who designed these droids to give them all sassy personalities?
know.
Like, have you noticed that? Like, every one of them is sassy.
Yeah.
The one on Rebels, R2.
Chopper on Rebels is my favorite droid.
They're all sassy.
Yeah.
They're so sassy.
So one of the alien siblings come over and turns off K2SO. And so then Cassian says, quick, help me reprogram this droid. Help me wipe the droid's memory. And so he boots him up, and he says, he's like, what is your designation? And he goes, I do not know. And he goes, okay, that's a start. And then he goes, I do know that I should arrest you or I should kill you. And I should let you know that 23.9% of my memory is still intact. And he's like, oh no. And so he tries to turn him off again. So he turns him off, and then he tries to erase more of his memory, and then K2SO, he boots him up, and he's like, all right, what's your destination? He goes, I do not know. And he goes, okay. And he goes, well, come on, you got to help me. So then they're trying to escape, and then he says, wait a minute, I feel like I should detain you. Mm-hmm. And he's like 8.23% of my memory is still intact. And so Cassian shuts him down again, and then he separates the programming from his active memory, and when he boots him up, it seems better. And then they try to get back to their ship, but there's troopers there, and then the siblings actually tell Cassian, just go, get the droid. The droid is the intel. We don't need to get the intel from the Star Destroyer anymore. The droid is the intel. Let's go. And then Cassian realizes that because he's got 8% of his memory intact, that he still has the base programming.
And that's what they need.
And that's what they need. And so K2SO helps him escape, and there's these funny quips. And at one point, they're like, their ship gets destroyed, so they got to go get a new ship. And they're trying to get in, and Cassian's trying to like hotwire the door while K2SO is keeping the troopers away. And then K2SO's like, I think that method of breaking and entering is inefficient. You should have just asked. And then he kicks in the door, and then they go into the ship and they take the ship, and then they escape. And there's this very like their dialogue is very like Cassian and K2. Overall, it was okay. It was pretty good. It wasn't like spectacular.
But it was a good origin story.
It was a good origin story. I thought that it was a little predictable, a little straightforward, sort of a little like linear. There were no real surprises, and I thought that the specific intel was never mentioned, like what they were specifically looking for, and it was okay. It was good. It was a very soft woo, but it was fun. If you like these characters, you should pick it up and check it out. There's some great K2SO, one-liners in it. So if you like those, then I highly recommend picking it up. So
I'll have to check it out because I do love me some Rogue One.
All right, so let's see. Did we finish off DC? Oh no, we got a couple of DC.
There's some. We didn't do Super Sons.
All right, let's do Super Sons.
We didn't do Justice League. We didn't do Metal.
Yeah, I want to talk about Metal. So all right, Super Sons. So we've got, this is a great cover, by the way.
It really is. Especially because, John doesn't really fly very much. Yeah. So anyhow, this issue, taking off from last issue, Damian Wayne has been aged to, old man proportions.
Old man Damian.
So they decide to go after Time Commander and Shun Yul and all those guys, right? Mm-hmm. And there's someone with them called, the Magician, right, with the villains. So they take down the villains, and the villains are disintegrating. In the meantime, Connor's really getting to show his medley, super punches and all this, and looking really, great in front of the Teen Titans. So, that kid's called Superboy? Yeah, we need our own Superboy. Really, they're really enjoying him. And at one point, Damian's yelling at one of the villains. He's like, we are teens. And Jonathan's like, well, technically, he's like, shut up. That was at the time. So at the end, everybody's giving Jonathan their approval, whenever you want, you're welcome with the Titans. And he's like, yeah. And Damian's like, she is the daughter of an interdimensional demon. I would take her approval with a grain of salt. Any chance to cut Jonathan down, he takes it. And so it's just a great issue. When they defeat these guys,
is this like a mini Bruce and Clark relationship? Is that what this is? That's awesome.
But it's so awesome. Angstier.
It's like what if Bruce and Clark were kids?
Yeah,
this is what this is. This is great. It's amazing.
Oh my god! No, what I thought was really amazing is during the Super Sons arc prior to the series was they were lecturing the kids, and Superman took Damian and Bruce took Jonathan, to give them a lecture.
Wow.
That's
pretty cool.
And right, so because
that's true, because my kids never listen to me, but they'll listen to their teachers. And you know how when my son misbehaves, I tell him, I'm going to tell the teachers on you. And then he stops in his tracks because he doesn't want that.
I think it's a matter of control too, because like at home they know what they can get away with you, but school is a structured institution and it's frightening. And it's like, no, why would you do that? I might get locked in detention for hours. So
don't mess with Uncle Clark.
Yeah, for real. So so anyhow, yeah, no, still a woo book. I liked it. It progressed the story, and even when they think they know what's going on, and they've wrapped things up, and Damien is back to his normal age, but they don't know exactly what happened to the magician, and they're still arguing with each other at the end. Like, this is supposed to be a training mission. There was no training tonight. All this happened. This was better than training. We actually had a real mission. I saved you. Blah, 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 blah. And this metallic thing comes out of the darkness to attack them, you know, and it's like, next issue, Cape shall not murder Cape. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
So it was good. A high approval rating. Again, only a $2.99 book. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed everything. It was very good.
Very cool.
Yes.
Justice League.
It's almost too easy to give out woos. Justice League number 27.
This is a great cover.
Yes. Still a great Hitch story. And now we learn about the kids, right? So, yeah. So the kids are on board the Watchtower, and they're all talking about the Watchtower with a lot of familiarity. Remember when we used to come up here and play hide and seek and stuff? So the Green Lantern children and the Flash are all the children. All three of them are the children of Jessica Cruz and Barry Allen.
Okay.
And the two children with the lantern powers, those lantern powers are biological, and that's why when they use them, it's every color of the rainbow.
Whoa.
So Jessica is really kind of bugged out about it, but she's kind of embracing that these are her kids. Mara keeps confronting her daughter, and her daughter goes all Khaleesi on her. She's like, I am the one who in our family's name restored magic to Atlantis. I am ruler of the only remaining free realm. I am Serenity. And she's like, I like this girl. She goes, and what about Arthur? Are we going to see him, like her father? And she goes, no, he's lost right now because he's trapped in his own comic. He's trapped in Atlantis, right? So he's like locked in there. So Mara is Aqua Person for the Justice League. And then Hunter, who wears Superman's cape, but an Amazon brooch to keep the cape on. Yeah. Hunter is Wonder Woman's son, who abandoned him after his birth because he was not female.
Whoa.
And Wonder Woman's like, no, I don't believe you. And he grabs the lasso and he goes, use the lasso. Know the truth. You abandoned me. And she goes, oh my God. And she's like, oh no, he's telling the truth. Like, she's devastated. She can't even look him in the face after he grabs the lasso. Right? And then he's all hunky-dory with Clark, right? And it's because Clark and Lois took him in and raised him as a brother alongside John after Diana abandoned him.
So my question is, how did these kids come to be if these other characters already have relationships?
Well, apparently so there was a really horrible dark war that took place that messed everything up. Then the children were born, they were raised, and it was really cool and it was nice. And then another really dark, horrible war came, right? So they hid the children in an abandoned Mount Olympus, right? Where the children should be safe. So the children were like, okay, well, we grew up here alone, right? So let's go back to the Earth and figure out what's going on. So of course, Serenity makes Atlantis a free nation again, the only remaining free nation on Earth. The others try to be heroes, and then that villain shows up, and the Sovereign, and she took over everything, destroyed everything, and took Olympus from them, and made it impossible for them to live there. So the kids basically tell the League about what it was like growing up, and Cyborg and his son Vincent fused together so they can project the imagery and show them some highlights of what happened. And then, by the way, awesome promo for A Lonely Place of Living. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a Red Robin story, a Tim Drake story. And I think that's Oz, who has him kidnapped, is from there too. So that's really great. but coming back to the actual story, so it's really cool. They get a glimpse of what everything is. They get a glimpse of who this sovereign person is, right? And Batman, of course, is like hidden away, trying to like collect all the data, trace this signal, trace that signal. Oh, sir, there's a signal coming from inside the watchtower. So he's being attacked in the watchtower, gas canisters and everything, getting freaking elbowed right into the face, bleeding everywhere because, you know, he's been taken by surprise. And it's Black Lantern cyborg Aquaman who has come and followed the children into the past.
What?
Yes.
Black Lantern, Cyborg, Aquaman.
Yeah.
Holy
Cyborg's armor keeps him alive. And the Black Lantern ring has some effect on that.
Wow. That is nuts.
So I think a great follow-up issue to part one.
Wow.
You know, Brian Hitch clearly wants to go out on a high note on his Justice League run.
That's so. I'm assuming a
continued woo. So I've been very pleased with the series.
All right.
Pleased.
Any other DC besides Metal?
Action Comics.
Action Comics. Here we go. All right. Action Comics.
So Action Comics. This is part
Number
one.
985.
We're getting closer and closer to 1,000. And
why they ever gave up their numbering system,
I don't really know. But this issue, basically, this is really a Clark story. And he fights this weird mechanized dude whose face is on the cover you see there, right? Like kind of drifting. And he finds some technology that, of course, brings him right back to Luthor. Right? And it's great because we see a lot of things from Luthor's narrative where Luthor's like, look at him floating outside of my watchtower. Like, we don't do this anymore, Superman. We're like I'm a superhero now. Like, you come to me with respect. So he's like, so Superman's like, so are we gonna team up? And he goes, oh yeah, we're gonna team up. This requires the world's greatest superhero, me, right? So they fly off in the Super Lex armor and Superman tracing the technology, and then of course they're attacked. And that same mechanized dude who stole Luthor's technology to begin with starts using it to control Lex's armor to attack Superman.
Is this Doctor Doom?
No.
It looks a lot
it's
like
a little,
Dr.
it's
Doom.
a little too much.
It's a little Doctor Doom.
It's definitely a little Doctor Doom. Although if that's where they're going with it, I think it's cool to do the what if Doctor Doom went after Lex Luthor thing.
Ooh, the next issue does not look so great.
Yeah. But again, not bad. I enjoyed it. Still great for the $2.99 price point. I didn't love the artwork too much.
Yeah, the artwork.
But it wasn't to the point where like I can't read this.
Yeah, I mean it's. Yeah. But it's okay. I mean it's not something that is too off-putting.
No. But
Very cool.
It's a soft food. The colors are wonderful because the colors are by Hi-Fi.
Yeah.
And they make everything look amazing.
All right.
Our last DC book,
Dun dun dun.
which is Metal. I picked the Superman variant cover because I love it. Because it's Superman, but it's also Romita Jr., so whatever. But it is also Mongol. And here's the classic cover here, which if you notice the metal is metallic.
Yeah. It's a nice book.
What's
the price point on this one?
$5, $4.99.
$4.99. That's not bad because it felt like a hefty comic.
It is a hefty comic. It's definitely getting a woo from me. It's really funny where this book opens up. The book opens up with the Justice League is straight up on World fighting against Mongol. Like we're just throwing that story, and they're all armored up in his arena.
Wow.
You know, which I think is kind of cool. And that's basically the first half of their story is basically this mini Justice League adventure. You know, and like how they get out of this.
Who did the artwork for this?
Some of it is Romita Jr. Some of it is Greg Capullo. Oh my God, I should know this. I met him when I was 17. And
I like the artwork. It's got kind of that like I forget who did it, but who Who drew Man of Steel in the 90s?
John Byrne.
John Byrne?
Or John Bogdanovic is the 90s, yes.
Right after Death of Superman, during Death of Superman.
Yeah, that's John Bogdanovic, yes.
Yeah, it reminds me like a softer version of that, which is nice. I like it.
So we get some interesting reveals here. Batman pursues his search.
So did this pick up from something? Because I feel like the last we knew, there was like the reveal of his
of the dark Batmen that are coming.
Yeah.
Right, and that was it. And then this just picks up on its own place and time.
So have we? So nothing has happened to connect this with anything.
No, but as you read forward, as they get away from Warworld, right, and Batman is still pursuing his interest in the metal, then it all starts reconnecting. You know? And of course, Green Lantern was with him, and Green Lantern is here.
I'm sorry.
Is
that Justice League Voltron?
It's Justice League Voltron.
Justice League Voltron.
And of course, it's made of the metal.
I may have to pick this up simply because of Justice League Voltron.
Well, you should pick it up just because it's a great book anyway. So, of course, yes, they do Justice League Voltron because Batman prepared for this, because he's prepared for every obscene thing. And,
or for you younger kids, Justice League Power Rangers.
Yeah, it's not all that. So anyhow, you don't recognize the symbol, I'm sure.
No.
Right? So this mountain appears in Gotham out of nowhere with this symbol on the door, which is the symbol for the Challengers of the Unknown.
Challengers of the Unknown.
Yes, who are basically like these dudes that survived a horrible accident who decided, wow, we're each the best at what we do, and we clearly defied this horrible thing of the unknown. We're the only ones who live. Let's stay together and be a team and be the Challengers of the Unknown. Right? So Lady Blackhawk reveals herself, the one who was stalking Bruce in the very first of these, right? And she's Kendra Saunders.
I just saw that.
Right, and she's this Earth's Kendra Saunders, former partner to Carter Hall.
Okay.
So she says the nth metal is evil. It ties to the dark multiverse. The dark multiverse is infinite darkness, and our multiverse merely floats atop of that infinite darkness. And if you look at the multiverse wheel that she presents them, it's the one that Grant Morrison created for Multiversity last year.
Wow.
So now we know about the nth metal. So the Challengers of the Unknown went to investigate with Red Tornado. Right? And apparently Red Tornado in this timeline hangs out with the Challengers of the Unknown. So Red Tornado came back all ranting and raving and then was deactivated. So he's in a display case there. Batman, of course, as we know from the past issues of Metal, right, has awakened the doorway to the Dark Universe. So Red Tornado starts going ballistic and attacking everybody because, of course, he can feel the presence of the darkness coming.
Yeah.
So, he starts investigating more and more. What is it? The Metal Men, Dr. Fate, and whatever that Plastic Man egg is, all are responding to the emerging darkness.
Wow.
And so Batman finds the diary of Carter Hall. He's horrified because everything Kendra said is true, right? And now clearly this darkness is coming. And now he's finding hints all over his own home, confirming all of this.
Whoa. Some crazy stuff.
And then on the last page, Neil Gaiman's The Sandman appears.
What?
Yes. To warn Batman about what he's discovered.
Has Sandman always been in the DC universe?
Only with Neil Gaiman's permission. So this is a big deal. This was all over the media outlets for comics that the Sandman is here and going to be utilized a little bit for this story. So he's probably here. He shows up on the last page. He's probably going to drop some knowledge for Batman.
Wow.
Now, what people tend to forget is during the Grant Morrison / Mark Miller run of Justice League of America in the 90s, they too got to use Morpheus. So it's not like Neil Gaiman constantly poo-poos the use of his characters in the mainstream DC universe. He's just limited. And of course, a few years ago in Action Comics, Death appeared and actually spoke with Lex Luthor. So these characters are present-ish in the DC universe, but at a discretionary use.
So Joe just popped in the chat. Joe, you're in Disney World. What are you doing watching us?
It's 7:30. You know, he may have had a long day.
You should be partying. You should be.
They took that away. You know.
They don't have Pleasure Island anymore.
Yeah, Pleasure Island's gone. Because it got out of control.
Joe, what are you doing if there's no Pleasure Island?
There's a lot of pleasure still left at Disney World. Okay,
on that note, so big woo for Metal?
Big woo for Metal. It's good. It meets my approval rating. It's a robust book for $4.99. Awesome. You know I'm all about price points. I think yesterday's books only cost me like $13. Nice. And like last week I spent like $45, and I wanted to like take the register and bash my head into it.
So let's move on to some Marvel.
Yes, I have an ounce of Marvel to share with you. An
ounce of Marvel. Inhumans Once and Future King.
All right, so this does not. This takes place in the past of the Inhumans. Okay, this is before everything. Remember that Royals book that followed up the last Inhumans book I read?
Yes.
It's already on issue 6.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, guys. I have not caught up. One day I will, and we'll come back to that. But Once and Future Kings takes place in the past with young Black Bolt, young Maximus, and their father.
And this is before Medusa and Black Bolt are married.
Right. So, like, at this point in time, there's a flirtation going on between her and Maximus and Black Bolt. Also, as we know, Maximus is, always been jealous of his brother, made even worse by their father because they rescue their father in battle, right? Maximus picks their father up, and their father immediately turns, after his son has helped him up, immediately turns and thanks Black Bolt.
Great. Thanks, Dad.
In the meantime, then Medusa is being interrogated by some, like, lecherous older Inhuman man, right? Who's, like, grabbing her derriere, telling her, if you accept my proposal, you don't have to worry about any of this. So Medusa flips out and attacks him with the hair. Yep. And then some guards come, and she attacks them, but it's actually Black Bolt and Maximus. And they're like, we came to rescue you. There's also a human who's running around up there, who, of course, is terrified for his life, and he has Baby Lockjaw with him.
Oh, Baby Lockjaw!
It's adorable.
Baby Lockjaw. Aw.
And the green blends into our background.
Yeah.
So Baby Lockjaw, and he uses them and takes Maximus and Medusa and Black Bolt to Earth.
Or, as he calls it, Wonderland.
Well, to them it's Wonderland because it's nothing they've ever seen before. So yeah, a wonderful book.
Wow.
So if you want some Inhuman history, especially about where the rivalry came from, and of course a giant ad for the Inhuman show at the end. I like this. This is a good introductory book. Next
Very
issue,
cool.
they make Spider-Man in Manhattan, so that's fun.
Very cool. That's nice.
So, yeah. So, a solid across-the-board woo. I did say I had to apologize for something. First Strike, which, again, I gave rave reviews, but it's Marguerite Scott, and it's a woman, and I butchered that because I didn't take the time to Google her when I was reviewing the book last week. So, I just want to apologize, and Marguerite is wonderful and has written plenty of Transformers things, and... so she
co-wrote with
Dave. There was a podcast that was very disrespectful about First Strike.
Really?
And really disrespectful with addressing Dave's contributions to the story. And basically they said some of them were like it's not for me, and some of them on the podcast were like, well, it's the crossover we never asked for.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't know about you, right?
Because we only get the crossovers we ask for.
I don't get, like, I don't know about you, right? But I mean, I grew up in the era of Transformers and Joe and Mask and all these things, right? So like, I've always been a fan of crossovers. Yeah. I just can't imagine all these properties that are clearly owned by Hasbro. Yeah. Coming together in a title, and the reaction people are getting, well, I don't like it now they put it all together. I've only been a fan of Transformers. And it blows my mind because, like, I remember being a kid, and I was the weird one because I was the one watching He-Man and the Super Friends and stuff, and everybody else was watching Transformers and G.I. Joe and Mask.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, anyhow, I was taken aback. So all that to say, I'm really sorry.
It's really interesting. The only crossover that could be better is Transformers and Ninja Turtles. That's the only thing that could get better. I think this crossover is awesome.
I mean, I can't remember what crossovers we got with Ninja Turtles.
Batman.
That was really well done.
And
Daredevil would make a great crossover for them too.
Yeah, they just did. What is it? Usagi.
Yojimbo.
Yojimbo.
But he's really his own property.
Yeah.
But he's a fun crossover.
Do we have any other Marvel stuff?
That is the last. So
that's not right.
Yeah. So I got the Wolverine in that. The last issue of Ultimates came out, and it came out as Ultimates 2 number 100. And I don't know how I feel about reviewing a final issue, out of the blue. But for anyone reading that story, the current Ultimates team, with Miss America and Captain Marvel and Blue Marvel. So basically, Galactus befriended them and became the Lifebringer. Okay. Right? Used him as his new heralds, but not giving them the power cosmic, just sending them out into the multiverse. They actually came across the Ultimates that we know from Ultimates Comics in the final issue. And then they summoned up the ancient dwelling spirits like Infinity and Eternity, right? All of them, because they had gone missing. They brought them back. The universe was restored to balance. Galactus remained the Lifebringer and sent them all back to Earth to go live out their lives. And he goes, I've had many heralds and they've all come and gone. He goes, but this is the first time I have friends, Aww. And that was it. And that's how the title ended. And of course, we got a little glimpse at the remaining Ultimates who don't have a universe to go back to, and of course Tony Stark showed up to help and all that stuff. It was a fine final issue. I didn't pick it up. I'm sorry. Ultimately what came down to is I don't own the other issues, and I just felt weird about being like, hey, check out this great last issue.
I was a big fan of the Ultimates in the early 2000s when the first
Ultimates and Ultimates 2 I think are wonderful. Yeah. Ultimates 3 they gave the controls over to Jeff Loeb, and that was no bueno.
Well, that's going to do it for what we read.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's not.
Right. You're right. I'm sorry.
We have one independent book.
I'm sorry. Yes, let's talk
about Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. All right, the first thing I like about this comic, 25 cents.
25 cents?
Go pick it up. Issue 0 for
what
25 cents. All right? So it's a great issue. Marguerite Bennett writes it. Sheena sees some kind of intrusion in her jungle. And, she goes with one of her animal friends to investigate.
It's from Dynamite Comics.
It's from Dynamite Comics. She just goes in there, Rex house in a temple, is like, we're not going to have any more intruders, rah, rah, rah. Great little mini adventure story in an ancient city. And when it's all said and done, there's a little, oh my God, a drone. There's a little drone flying overhead. Right after she says no one's going to come here and interrupt our way of life, right? So this drone flies overhead, and this kid is at home eating his ramen noodles, and he's like, "Oh my God, what did I record?" Because the drone flew overhead.
University Valverde.
Yeah.
Wow. So is Sheena a new property, or is this
no? She's from 1921.
So this is a property that they've rebooted. Oh, Tarzan and Sheena.
Yep.
Oh, so she's like the female Tarzan.
Yes, she is.
Very cool.
Not like Marvel's Shauna the She-Devil, who is married to a Khazar basically, and came years later. So I felt a little bit weird. Yeah, and a little thing for the Warner Brothers on the back. So their streaming service, apparently you can start paying for it now and enjoy, Batman Brave and the Bold and a whole bunch of other WB properties. I was watching The Batman last night on Netflix, and even that said, discontinuing September 1st. So Warner Brothers
Justice League and Justice League Unlimited
are gone,
just went off,
right? So
Netflix.
Warner Brothers is summoning back their stuff. Just like I know we're gonna get to that point where like Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Jessica Jones and Daredevil are all just gonna fade off.
We're getting, and Disney just announced that they're pulling all their stuff off of Netflix and they're gonna go their own streaming service
By 2019, I think, right? So we'll enjoy a few more Netflix hits, and then all of that will fade away.
It's
actually,
interesting.
I think Netflix will always have them. I believe.
Well, the Netflix like studio ones, like Daredevil,
right?
Defenders,
right, but
I'm
they won't
stay on there.
The ones that they
The
made,
the new stuff,
ones,
right. Or who knows? Maybe their contracts maybe they'll stay on there, and any new properties that they create will go to the new service. We really don't know.
It may all go because, of course, look at them purchasing Millar World.
That's true.
Right, so now when all the Marvel stuff leaves, because we talked about this, right? How the news
and by the
almost
way,
happened
I
back to
don't know
back.
if we made that clear. They bought the company.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't buy the rights to this stuff.
Yeah.
They bought the whole company.
Yeah.
Netflix may very well be getting into the comic book business.
Or at least using it for series material.
But the thing is they bought the company that makes the comics.
Yes.
So what are they going to do? Stop publishing the comics?
It's not important. They make more money by original content.
But I mean,
they can do whatever they want. They're keeping him.
So,
They're keeping Mark Miller.
Right. Well,
so that it's not always a guarantee. So I think it's great that
that's
they're
true.
keeping him.
It seems like you buy Lucasfilm, you keep Kathleen Kennedy. You buy Marvel Studios.
Well, they kept George Lucas like a little bit of a retainer, but then they didn't use any of his ideas. Which I think
not necessarily a bad idea.
No, but I mean, I would have kept me personally just out of the sense of nostalgia and camaraderie. Mm-hmm. I feel like I would have just kept something that was of George.
They did. His name's Luke Skywalker.
You know damn well.
Millennium Falcon.
You know damn well. No, I'm just saying if he came up with even if he came up with one new droid,
Ben Solo. How do we know he didn't come up with BB-8?
He didn't though. Because
how do you know?
Everything I read was just like they didn't use any of his ideas.
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Well, I'm just saying. I don't know. I would have thrown him a bone. Sure. You would have too. Just out of the decency of your heart.
Yes. I mean, the man gave us one of the greatest adventure, sci-fi, fantasy, epic hero journeys of all time, and I will never ever forget that, and I will never take that away from him. However, the man is not a good filmmaker anymore.
Although I gotta tell you, I loved Red Tails.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it.
Nope. But
I recommend you do.
Okay.
Since it is based on a true story, of the Tuskegee Airmen, and I thought that was very well done, and he did that out of pocket.
He did.
Yes, and it was good. And I remember I was arguing with my ex because there's a scene where there's only two of them flying, and they attack a German tanker. Right? And he goes, oh, this is all Hollywood, whatever. I was like, well, even if it is, leave it alone. And then I actually was watching something on the History Channel, and they actually it was real.
Wow.
And I was like, this is awesome. I'm like, you go, George Lucas.
Yeah.
And it was just great. And just them encountering the German jet planes for the first time because they were just so fast, but they didn't know how to maneuver them. And that's how the Tuskegee Airmen were able to protect their carloads, to protect the cargo that they were that was being transported. Like that was the whole reason they were there, and they outmaneuvered them day and night, and it was great.
So Sheena, you're gonna pick up the next issue?
I will at least give the next issue a try.
Awesome.
Just to see where it's going.
So this was issue 0.
For 25 cents!
And not a lot of pages, but a good introductory.
It's like 20 pages. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to what did we watch?
Woo!
And we've got some fun stuff to talk about. Let's start with, again, another Netflix original show, Castlevania.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so you tweeted out or Facebook message posted.
It was all
that you would watch this and you thought it was good. You're like, wow, what a show. I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a try. This was actually shortly after we started the show, I think. And I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I watched the first episode. It's 4 episodes, and each episode is
22 minutes.
22 minutes.
Very brief.
So I watched the first episode, and it's
The quality is good.
I'm not a huge anime fan.
Right.
I don't actually particularly enjoy anime at all. I don't particularly enjoy animation in general, unless the story is solid, unless it's an entertaining movie.
I think it was a solid opener.
So I watch it, and I'm like, but the animation's pretty good. The beginning, the whole opening sequence.
I love the opening sequence with the woman.
With the woman
who's his
coming
wife.
in, and let me tell you, not at that. This is before.
Well, she becomes his wife, but still.
Spoiler alert: she becomes Dracula's wife.
It's all in the first 12 minutes.
But I'll tell you, the opening, and she walks into this field, and there's heads on spikes, and I'm like, this is not a kid's cartoon.
No, absolutely not. No.
This is full on rated R.
Yeah.
I mean, full on rated R. And let me tell you, the graphic on the Netflix queue is like a picture from the video game, the 8-bit video game. And I'm like, man, that is so good. Like, just the juxtaposition of that and how they've taken that property and created this world in this story is amazing.
And the color alone is gorgeous.
Somebody wrote this. Did Warren Ellis wrote this, didn't he?
Did he? Holy cow, how could I have missed that? Maybe that's why I enjoyed it.
I'm pretty sure Warren Ellis wrote this. Because I remember
seeing the name and going, what?
And I was like, oh, I gotta watch this now. So, Warren Ellis.
Yeah.
Warren Ellis wrote this. And just a little side note, my first introduction to Warren Ellis was Black Summer. And I, for whatever reason...
clearly seeing how graphic this was, it brought you back to Black Summer.
Well, the thing is I don't know as I've finished Black Summer. It's only 6 or 8 issues long. I don't know if I've finished Black Summer, but I need to go back. I think I have them all. I got to go back and finish it. I actually just moved all my comic boxes from storage into my apartment, so I may have to go revisit. I also want to do a special on the Nightly News too and let you borrow that. So we're gonna go back and visit some old stuff too, because I think that's important. We may even do a separate segment on that, like a separate episode.
I think we should do a public movie night.
Oh yes, if you guys think we should do some commentary. And live commentary too. We all watch the movie together, and you listen to Cliff and I rant about it. I think let us know if you want to see that, because we've had some people mention that, and I thought that was a good idea. So anyway, Black Summer was my first introduction to Warren Ellis. I don't know why I picked up the book to begin with, but I read it and I was like,
"This graphic violence."
This was and the thing was this was when I was just getting back into comics in 2007. I was getting back into comics from being a kid, and I tried to pick up some independent stuff, and I picked up Black Summer, and I was like, man, this is different.
Yeah.
This is different, man. But I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I loved, I love that Warren Ellis-ness of it, and I didn't even know what that was at the time. I mean, I didn't know anything about Warren Ellis. But yeah, Warren Ellis wrote this, which is one of the reasons why we're talking about this. And I can't believe you didn't even know that.
I went right over my head. He wrote Planetary too, by the way.
Yeah.
And we know how I feel about them.
And so let me tell you, and there's some people in this. Richard Armitage from the Hobbit series. James Callis from Battlestar Galactica played Baltar. Right, Adam? Baltar? Battlestar Galactica? Adam has not watched Battlestar Galactica yet. I'm getting him into it. He's just watched the first 3 episodes. So
how'd you feel? Do you feel engaged?
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We'll talk more afterwards. So there's some people in this too. There's some good voice talent. So the opening sequence, she comes in, there's heads on spikes. I'm like, okay, this is Vlad. This is Vlad the Impaler. They're doing this justice. By the way, I know nothing about Castlevania. I never played the game. I know absolutely nothing. I don't know who any of these characters are. So she walks in, but just like, man, you're in it. This woman's there. Just
she's like, I'm not having any of this. I didn't come here. And I didn't come here for severed heads.
You could kill me, or you could teach me science.
Because I came here for the science.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, like, oh, this is so good. Like, and then flash forward, they're married, and I forget, she comes back. Oh, she's burned at the stake because she's a witch. Yeah. Because she knows science.
Yeah, exactly. Typical.
Sure. And of course by the church.
Yep.
So, And
she's screaming to the heavens, begging Dracula
she's begging
not
him
to murder them.
not to retaliate against these people.
Yeah.
And then cut to, we see Dracula strolling through like farmland, and does he smell smoke or something? I forget what it was, but he talks to this old woman, and when he finds out that his wife has been, killed at the stake, because this woman says, oh yeah, they just killed a witch for whatever, and he finds out, he is not happy. And
oh my God,
he says because my wife, he basically says, because my wife didn't want me to do this, I'm going to give you the chance to run away.
Yeah, you're going to have a year to get your affairs in order.
Yeah, I'm about to. Well, doesn't he tell the woman, he tells the woman, you need to leave because I'm about to get really pissed off here.
Yes.
And then he goes and he appears as a giant face over the
giant
crowd.
face in a whirlwind of flame.
Yes, which,
was
Catholic
awesome.
Church loves that,
I was like,
amazing.
yeah.
So then he basically says you have a year to get your affairs in order and to prove to him that
no, just get your
leave.
Yeah,
to leave the city.
Right, get your affairs in order and leave because I'm coming to destroy. I'm laying
And
waste.
of course, a year later, they carry this Pope guy out, this archbishop,
right, to celebrate the day.
that they
murdered the devil's wife.
They murdered the devil's wife, and how, look, it's been a year, he hasn't retaliated.
Yes.
And what happens?
The sky starts raining blood.
And
then severed body parts.
Demons come down and start
demons
killing everyone.
Man, woman, and child.
And it is just very Warren Ellis.
It's very horrific.
Yes, it is slightly disturbing.
Didn't they go in that kid's bedroom and rip his eyes out and leave him there?
I was
shook.
I was like, man, I don't know if I can handle this. But then we meet the first episode.
No.
We
our
meet
main character,
Trevor Belmont.
Yes.
And he's in a drunken stupor, trying to get more liquor. And apparently, he's a member of these monster hunters.
And everybody blames him.
And everybody blames his family for not killing Dracula.
Yeah.
And letting this happen, which is complete lunacy. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to take these guys on a fight. And of course, you're like, okay. He's the drunk guy. He's a warrior fighter, and these bar guys are gonna think they're gonna wipe the floor with them, but he's really gonna wipe the floor with them. And then he gets his butt kicked like nobody's business. These two farmers who are arguing about somebody's goat beat the crap out of him. And then he vomits on the floor. I mean, I was just like, I don't know what's going on, but I love it. And I don't know, this is based on a video game from the 80s.
Our hero's a little flawed.
Our hero just got his butt kicked. And I mean, and there is full on swearing. I mean, this is hard R. And it is wonderful. And if at all, let me bring up one more picture here. I don't want to spoil anything because I told Adam he should watch this. Mm-hmm. But here's, if you know Castlevania at all, you probably know who these characters are. This super quick 4 episodes was really good.
And quite the cliffhanger.
And it was, yes. And I am very much looking forward to the continuation of this story.
So I feel it's like, I forgot what the games were named, but there were 3 that worked in the trilogy.
And this is based on the second one, I believe.
Right, or this is just before Symphony of Night. I think the next one would technically be Symphony of Night.
Sure.
But I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. And I actually did play them when I was much younger, but...
Yeah, I've never played them. Never played them. Adam, did you play Castlevania when you were a kid? No? Yeah, me neither. You should definitely check this out. So we highly recommend it. Huge woo from the both of us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Go and check this out on Netflix right now.
And yes, look, it's 4 episodes. You're going to feel like, oh, no, I want more. But I think it's a good feeling to want more. I did feel like, oh my God, why was it only 4 episodes? I'm like...
I was actually a little shocked that it was 4 episodes,
yeah.
But it was a good 4 episodes.
It really was. It really was.
Warren Ellis, amazing job, very tight. Directed by Sam Dietz, and just wonderful, just a wonderful.
And I do believe they purchased season 1 and 2 as a package.
I should hope so.
So, because some things we never know, but at least.
So speaking of Netflix, let's get a little lighter here.
Is it a little lighter?
Oh, I'm not as far into it as you are. So,
yeah.
let's talk about Voltron, a legendary Defender. Talking about going back to the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a time when and I think Transformers, the live action movies, ruined this a little bit, mining our childhood.
In a way,
unsuccessfully.
yeah, for real.
However,
you want to talk about something that's disappointing.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm very hopeful about the new Bumblebee movie that's coming out. That's the next movie in the series. Bumblebee movie, and guess when it takes place?
When?
1987.
Okay.
And it's directed by the director of Kubo and the Two Strings.
Okay.
Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, that movie's creepy as heck with the freaking the witches
Stop,
sharing an eye.
Stop
oh my
motion.
God.
Stop motion.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
I'm very excited about the Bumblebee movie. So
I'm not very excited. I'm full of trepidation and caution.
that's fine. That's fine.
But-
you know what? Here's the thing. The Transformers series, I like chug the Kool-Aid.
Listen, all I want is reboot it. I don't care. I don't want this to have anything to do with all that garbage that we've sat through.
I don't know
All
if
that
I'm gonna reboot it.
multi-million-dollar garbage that I don't understand how people continue to spend money on it.
By the way, have you ever watched Transformers Prime, the animated show?
Yeah.
You saw Transformers Prime.
Yeah, the 3D
Okay.
one, yeah.
Yeah, great. I love that series. So the next one in the line is Transformers: Robots in Disguise, which is on now.
Yeah.
I think it's been on for about a year or two, maybe. Very geared towards a younger audience, and it basically is about it's post everything that has happened in any timeline. I believe it's post Transformers Prime.
Okay.
So Transformers Prime is the animated canon, okay? And so this is post that. Everybody's back on Cybertron, and Optimus Prime is gone, and they assume he's passed away. And Bumblebee is basically like a street cop on Cybertron, and he's training a new recruit, and her name is Longarm, which is great because Longarm has always been a male character who is a tow truck, and in this iteration, she's like this new rookie cop.
Long arm of the law.
And they are chasing this hoodlum who turns out to be Sideswipe. And Bumblebee keeps seeing visions of Optimus Prime telling him to go to Earth, and he has no idea why. So they go into this museum, and the animation's not great. Like, it's okay, but it's a little like
For 5-year-olds.
It's a little, and the toys are all simplistic, and so I was just like, whatever. I'm whatever.
But the story keeps sucking.
But then
you in.
but I watched the first few episodes with my son, and it gets really good because what ends up happening is I don't know how we went from Voltron to Transformers: Robots in Disguise, but whatever, we'll go.
Big
with it.
old machines. That's why you got sucked right in.
So
I want to see Voltron versus Transformers.
oh man, that'd be so good. So Bumblebee, they go to this museum because there's a space bridge in the museum, and Bumblebee's tells Longarm, go take Sideswipe to the police station, and she's like, well, regulations say that I should stay with my ride along officer. So she keeps showing up with Sideswipe handcuffed to her, and he's like, dude, I don't want to be here, man. I just don't want to be here. Can I just go? I didn't really do anything wrong. I just spun around in this park. I did wheelies in a park, a burnout in a park.
This is just not getting any better. Let me
Yeah,
go.
I'm just gonna go. And so they sneak into this museum, and then they fire up this.
Now he's like,
now I'm really breaking the law. I don't want to be here.
This isn't even the law. I'm an accomplice by force.
Yeah, exactly. And these cops are and so they're sneaking around security and stuff. So they fire up the space bridge, and Bumblebee's like, look, you guys go. I'm going to Earth. So he goes into this thing,
And of course,
they follow with Sideswipe.
Because he's like, why?
Yeah, and he's like, come on. And so so they go there, and then come to find out a prison ship has crashed on Earth. And this little robot named Fix-It, who reminds me of Wheelie. I don't know if you remember Wheelie from the original 2-hour movie in '86. And he was just he was basically a clerk on this ship, driving it from prison to prison. And it's crashed, and all the evil Decepticons have escaped, including one Decepticon named Grimlock.
Oh.
And
like Fort Ross, it's just cracking open on
except Grimlock, all he wants to do is fight. And so the first Decepticon that they try to go after, and somehow they finally let Sideswipe go, and so Grimlock, the first Decepticon that they go after, Grimlock wants to just fight him. Like, that's all he wants to do is fight him. And so Bumblebee convinces Grimlock to help him to wrangle up these guys. So basically this, and then we meet the human characters, and there's a junkyard, and like that the human characters own, and it's,
are there any Witwikis or no?
No Witwikis.
Okay.
And so,
which is weird because that was like a thing in the old animation and in the current movies.
Yeah.
And now it's
Spike, and there was Spike and his son. There was Sam Witwicky, whose name was Spike. His nickname was Spike, and his dad's name was Spike in the original cartoon. And then in the movie, there was his son Daniel. There was Spike's son Daniel. And so,
I mean, they poured so much into that mythology.
Yeah.
And then crapped it all away.
By the way, I wanted to mention the Transformers comic book that I was talking about by Simon Furman was called War Within. Was the series War Within, and it was about the wars on Cybertron that led, and it starts with like Orion Pax, who then is inducted into the Primes by Sentinel Prime and becomes Optimus Prime. And like the whole origin story of Optimus Prime is in there. It's really good. So anyway, this show is basically Bumblebee and his crew on Earth trying to round up all of these Decepticons
and maybe find Optimus.
And Optimus does appear to him, and in physical form, and even Longarm and Sideswipe see him, but then he like disappears. So there's some mystical thing going on, which I'm not sure if I'm crazy about, but it's interesting. And
they're
Peter
living
Cullen.
machines. There could be a mystical thing behind it.
The Allspark. So anyway, let's jump into Voltron,
which is
Legendary
awesome.
Defenders. So I started watching this because obviously I was a huge Voltron fan as a kid. All I cared about were those lions coming together. I don't remember any of the story. I just remember there'd be a giant monster or robot that.
And here they made us work for it.
And holy cow, it was a slow start for me. I'll be honest, but I'm probably on episode 6 or something, or 7 of the first series, and it's really starting to get good. They're on the planet with the Hunk sort of like gets involved with these rebels on this planet that are trying to defeat Zarkon's forces, and he promises that they'll come back. They're there to rescue. I think
Boy, do they come back!
Is it Keith? No, who's been captured on that planet? Who's captured? Who's the Black Lion? Who's he's like the leader. I always want to call him Keith, but Keith is the red one.
No, Keith is red. God, I forgot his name.
Let me see if I can bring it up here. Anyway, he's captured by Zarkon's forces, which isn't the first time he was captured by Zarkon's forces.
No.
Because when they first meet him...
He has just escaped Zarkon's forces. And he had help, only he doesn't know who at that time.
Which was, spoiler alert, probably Pidge's brother.
No.
No?
It was actually a member of the... oh my god, what's Zarkon's people called?
Oh, really? It was one of them?
Yes, because believe it or not...
Lance.
Believe it or not, and I love that it's Jeremy Shada playing him, and believe it or not, what did they call it? Something with a D. And yeah, believe it or not, all his people want to be... Yes.
I didn't realize Glenn from The Walking Dead does the voice of Keith.
Yes,
That's awesome.
But believe it or not, the Zarkon's people might not all want to be, intergalactic super Nazis.
Yeah. So I'm around those episodes where Hunk is promised to go back. Pidge wants to find his brother, and then you find out later on that Pidge is actually a girl, which is awesome. And
Pidge is still looking for that brother.
And
all the way in season 3.
That's and the thing is I thought it was great where Pidge wanted to leave.
Yes.
And say, I got to go find my brother.
And I thought that was going to be. I thought Pidge was going to leave for real.
Yeah.
And that the princess was just going to be like, oh, I guess I'm taking over that lion.
Which she does in the original series, in the '84 series.
Right, because technically Pidge actually died in the real cartoon. Right. The American version, they wrote him off to being like captured.
Yeah. Because I always remembered the princess as the Blue Lion.
Yeah.
And I was confused when I went back and watched.
Wait till you get to season 3.
Don't spoil it for me. Anyway, and in fact, what's interesting, well, because I know somebody's gone, right? Like, isn't Lance gone?
Lance is gone.
Because I saw the trailer for season 3,
Yeah.
and they're like, and they're like, who's gonna fly the Black Lion?
Who do
And
you think?
is it gonna be Princess Allura?
No.
Oh,
I just said she's. I just hinted that she's in another lion.
oh, she's in the Blue Lion.
Right. So everybody has to reconfigure.
Oh, who's in the Blue Lion?
What's his name there?
Shiro?
No, it's
Shiro's
Corrin.
Corrin.
So yeah, Corrin's in the blue lion. So,
Interesting. All right, don't spoil it.
but anyhow, there are
Because I'm
there are changes due
Changes.
to Shiro's absence.
Interesting.
But I will say this: the princess is a quick study, and I love.
Shiro's absence or Lance's absence?
Lance's Lance is our main dude. Yeah, Lance's absence.
Yeah.
God, you know what? I actually watched all 3 seasons and enjoyed it, and I got the names all mixed up. This is terrible.
So this has started to become a pleasant surprise for me, and
It's going to be more than a pleasant surprise for you.
Good,
There's just
good.
they do a lot of good work with breaking up the episodes. In season 1, there's a lot of episodes dedicated to just acquiring the lions and figuring out what to do with them. In season 2, there's a lot of episodes dedicated to them finding each other and getting back together and getting their crap together to go after Zarkon. And season 3 is a lot about like Lance is gone. We got to keep our new alliance going. We have to maintain a sense of faith. And what do we do? And also, who the hell is this Prince Lotor guy?
Prince Lotor.
Yes. So season 3 has.
Does he have the hots for Allura in this one too?
Not yet.
Not yet. Has he met Allura?
No.
Ooh.
So I have
because that was a thing in the original cartoon.
Yes,
is
and
he
he
didn't really care about becoming
Yeah.
a space dictator.
He competes with Keith for her affection in the original series.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me tell you that the seeds are sprinkled.
I love the slow going. I really appreciate, like, Breaking Bad was the same way. Battlestar Galactica was the same way. They start with a simple premise, they stick to that premise, and then they slowly add things, they slowly build, and then by 3 or 4 seasons, stuff is so, bat crazy.
Karen, how did you not know you were a Cylon? I don't know. I still think I'm human. I am a Cylon. I got hurt in combat, and look what happened.
Don't listen at him. Don't
I
listen.
made a name up.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even like a...
He said Karen, not Kara.
Yeah.
He said Karen, not Kara.
No, but I'm just saying, but I mean, that happens,
Yeah.
but like, I was being random about it.
So-
but I love that. I love the fact that, but you're our enemy. How can I be your enemy when I didn't even freaking know I'm a Cylon? Like, I thought that was great.
Yeah, and the animation is fantastic.
The animation here is
I
great.
really appreciate.
Like this 3D meets cell shade rendering combo is great.
I really appreciate when they do that. Transformers Prime did the same thing. The robots were all in 3D, but the backgrounds were all hand-drawn animation, as a matter of fact.
You know, it's so funny. I was watching Justice League Unlimited the other night, and I was watching episodes where they fought Luthor Brainiac, and he makes the Brainiac ship emerge from the top of the building, right? And it's funny because the Brainiac head is rendered in 3D, flying over Metropolis while the Justice League goes after it. And I was like, this is kind of cool and interesting. And then watching Superman, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter just tear that freaking ship down, and then it crashes into Metropolis. The Justice League is there, and it's just like, and Batman's like, this was too easy, and Hawkgirl's like, this was easy, like she's just like, we were torn up and teared up, and we were thrown up against the building, it was just horrible, and this was too easy. And Superman's like, no, it's Brainiac, this is too easy. And
hey Joe, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Another Joe.
Yeah, Joe Clements. He plays Flames of War, and his son judges Yu-Gi-Oh! As a matter of fact, sometimes, and plays Yu-Gi-Oh! So
Hey, Lindsay.
and Lindsay's here too. She's actually upstairs. So so this has been a great show. I've really enjoyed it.
And as someone who watched all 3 seasons, I can assure you,
and I have one more picture, I think, of the
cast.
There we go. There they are. There's Laura and Hunk and Pidge and Keith and Lance and Shiro.
Voltronians assemble. I'm sorry, what are they called? The Voltron Paladins assemble.
Yes, the Paladins.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a great show. I highly recommend it, especially if you have kids. It's really great that there's these shows that parents and adults can watch together. It's a little homage to what we watched as a kid, and we get to reintroduce them. My son loves Ninja Turtles, the new Ninja Turtles show. So, and
it's so funny. I had no love for that Ninja Turtles until the end of season 1. Because the end of season 1 just did so much throwback love to the past. And then when they opened season 2 by actually teaming up with previous versions of the Turtles, I was in love.
Yeah. And there was one, I just remember there was one sequence in Turtles where they're battling in a portal room, and they some machine goes through a portal, and then at the end of the episode they're like, I wonder where that ended up. Cut to 1984 Turtles.
Yeah, that was the end of season 1.
Yeah, and the thing slams down.
Yes.
And they're like, whoa, dude, what was that? Like,
it was the space worm.
It was so good. It was so good. All right, so let's talk about a little controversial show, if you can believe it.
I can't, but apparently there are people who didn't
can't
love it, and
either.
I lost my mind over it.
DuckTales is back. Disney
Yes.
XD. You can watch the first episode for free on their YouTube channel
Or their app.
on the Disney XD app, although you can't watch anything else on the Disney XD.
Yeah, unless you subscribe, you are actually a cable subscriber.
So I watched the trailer of this, the one where Huey, Dewey, and Louie are playing like commandos.
Yes.
And then Webby comes out of nowhere and like slaughters them all. And she's like, she runs them into the foyer, and he's like, the foyer is the safe zone. The foyer is the safe zone. And she holds up the dart gun and goes, no, it's not. It's a tomb. And then I just was like, this is amazing. This is so good. So the first episode, it's actually 2 episodes combined. The premise basically is Donald needs to go to a job interview.
Yeah, I need somebody to watch the kids.
Somebody
for a
watch
while.
the kids. The kids have steered the babysitter off to the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
And come to find out, it's because they want to go on this adventure on the houseboat. They want to take the houseboat. And Donald...
Because they live on Donald's houseboat.
Because they live on Donald's houseboat. Donald is about to leave them there by themselves when the boat starts up.
Because Dewey is engineering the boats.
And finally he takes them with him, and he goes, we're going to go to the McDuck mansion because Scrooge McDuck owes me one. And the nephews have no idea that A, Donald knows Scrooge McDuck, or B, that they're related to Scrooge McDuck. And so they think he's the most exciting man in the world.
And in reality, he kind of is.
And he is.
Yeah, it's just, it's been a while.
And then it cuts to Scrooge McDuck in a business meeting, and his associates that are running his company, they're discontinuing all of his exploration ventures, and he's like, yeah, sure, fine. He throws his money back in his vault and goes home. When he gets there, Donald's there in his jalopy.
In the driveway, blocking the driveway.
Blocking the entrance, and McDuck gets out and he says, move that jalopy! Yeah, you deadbeat! Not knowing it's Donald.
Yeah.
And then Donald gets out and he goes... And they have a conversation, and he's like Scrooge McDuck, and he goes Donald Duck, and
but he goes Uncle Scrooge.
Right.
And they're like, Uncle!
And then the boys flip out, and they're like, oh, we're related, and then one of them goes up and around.
They're like, we're rich.
Yeah. And so they have this conversation, and then at the end of the conversation, Scrooge McDuck is like, move that jalopy, you deadbeat. And so he finally agrees to watch the kids.
You actually sound more like Clown Gold, by the way.
Yeah, well,
which is hilarious.
Or the old Scrooge McDuck, I think. So,
yeah, may he rest in peace.
And so, which, by the way, the new Scrooge McDuck is voiced by David Tennant.
Which I love every minute of it.
Just amazing. Danny Pudi is one of the Ducks. He was on Community.
Yes.
He played Abed on Community, and he's amazing.
He's in Winter Soldier as
well. He is. Used to work with the Russo brothers.
Yes.
And so... They get watched by Mrs. Beagley or
yes,
Beagley?
Mrs. B. And they call her Mrs. B.
Mrs. B.
No.
And she's amazing. Then they meet Webby.
And she takes no crap. Not like the old version
Oh,
of her.
yeah.
The new version of hers, I
she's
take
so
no
great.
crap
She's
from
so
you.
great. He pushes her in. Scrooge pushes them into this room, and he's like, and then
He leaves him a sack of marbles.
yeah, he said they say something, and then he's like, and then he goes to leave, and he goes, Huey, Dewey, the third one, and then
Yeah.
he leaves because he doesn't remember their names. And then actually, I think Dewey's the one he doesn't remember because that becomes a thing later on. And she hands him a bag of marbles and says, "This is a gift from your uncle. You will not leave the designated play area. You will be requested to return them when you're done."
They are counted.
He's counted them, and then leaves and locks the door. And it's like it's hysterical. And the animation's fine. Like the animation's great.
I had people who were like, "Oh, I don't know about the animation style." I'm like, "What?" Honestly, this guy, one of my friends was like, "Yeah, I put the original DuckTales movie on for the kids because it's so much better." And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, how is there this
Here's the
disconnect?
thing. So
this was fun.
Disney XD is a Disney Channel and Disney programming that is for older people. It is, I mean, not older people like old people, but like it is not a Disney kids channel or programming. That's why Star Wars Rebels is on it. And that show is not a kids show like the Clone Wars was. Because they deal with some pretty serious stuff. Torture, death, I mean, you know.
I know, but it also was home
Intergalactic
to,
oppression.
It was also home to Phineas and Ferb, you know?
Yeah, but the whole purpose of Disney XD is that it is for...
It's young adults.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so the rest of this episode, and so basically the kids...
I thought this was a great
The kids
place
try to,
for-
because they see Scrooge McDuck as this exciting adventurer, and he's no longer that person. And then the kids being there sort of starts to jog that for him. And in the end, he decides that, hey, let's go to the lost city of Atlantis and find out what's going on. And by the way, Launchpad is a pilot.
Yeah. But he's also Scrooge's driver.
Scrooge's driver, and he keeps saying, "I'm a pilot. I'm a pilot. I'm a pilot."
Oh my god, I love it. It's the guy from Saturday Night Live who plays him.
Oh, it's so
the one who did the video on how to lose weight and a girlfriend. I love that guy.
So
and he's Launchpad.
The cast is so great. So so then they proceed to go to Atlantis, and then we find out that Donald's new job is with Scrooge's rival,
Glumgold.
Glumgold.
Which in the original series wasn't it like his cousin or something? I don't remember.
I think so.
You know, he's like, Scrooge McDuck is not more Scottish than I. I wear kilt.
So anyway, and then there's this great relationship between Scrooge and Dewey, and how Dewey thinks he can do things better than Scrooge. Scrooge sees Dewey as a kid and doesn't think he can be an adventurer. And then in the end, they come together and realize that they each can contribute something to their adventures and to their relationship. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was so good. And I want to share something with you. This is something that not a lot of people know. My favorite superhero of all time is Gizmo Duck.
And you just can't wait for him to show up.
He has already been teased that he's showing up.
Did you hear them mention St. Canard?
Yes!
Yeah, so I feel like
Darkwing
Darkwing is
Duck.
on the way.
Oh, they're all coming back. They're all coming back. So Gizmo Duck, who was Gyro, who was the inventor, created this suit of armor. And he didn't, and it was voice activated, and so he used the least used word in all of duck language, blather and blatherskite, which I'm assuming is a duck swear word.
Yeah.
Okay. To activate the suit and come on to the activate button. And the whole purpose, I think, was he's trying to build something to guard Scrooge's money bin. And meanwhile, Scrooge is hiring a new accountant. And this bean counter, this literal bean counter named Fenton Crackshell, goes home to his trailer and his mother and discovers that Scrooge is hiring an accountant, and he can count really fast. And his favorite swear word is blather and blatherskite. And he goes for the job, and he ends up getting the job, but then he ends up in Gyro's workshop, and he stubs his toe, says blather and blatherskite, and the suit goes on him, and he becomes Gizmo Duck. And then Scrooge is so impressed with him as Gizmo Duck, but he doesn't know it's Fenton, that he hires him to be his personal bodyguard and to guard the money bin because he actually ends up battling the faulty robot that Gyro puts there.
Yeah.
So, my favorite superhero of all time. Guess who is voicing Fenton Crackshell?
Cool.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh my God! Get out.
No, I'm serious.
Get out.
And they've already done.
Isn't he a little too busy with 16 different Broadway shows?
He's in Mary Poppins, The Next Generation, or whatever it's called. He wrote songs for Moana.
Yep.
He wrote the Jabba song in The Force Awakens. That's in Maz's casino, Maz's cantina.
Yep.
And so let me find.
Oh my God.
I cannot tell you how excited I am about this.
I know I'm excited.
So here's the artwork. Here's the new Gizmo Duck.
Holy
And
cow.
there's Fenton Crackshell. And I'm pretty sure this is legit. This is Gizmodo. This is from Gizmodo. So Hamilton himself will be
Gizmo Duck.
Gizmo Duck. I am so excited about this. Gizmo Duck looks amazing, and I cannot wait. The relationship between Gizmo Duck and Darkwing Duck is one of my favorite rivalries of all time. I don't know if you've seen it. I've worn it on this shirt. But I have that Civil War, the A with Darkwing as Captain America and Gizmo Duck as Iron Man clashing together. And it's just...
It killed me when the showrunners of Darkwing were like, oh no, Darkwing's in its own universe. And I'm like, why would you say that when clearly you create such a great relationship with Gizmo Duck and freaking Launchpad and everything?
Yeah. Whatever. And this version, Gizmo Duck, I used to play this online superhero game called Champions Online. Mm-hmm. My character was Gizmo Man, and he was modeled after Gizmo Duck.
Champions
in a little
still
store.
around.
It is, yeah. They also do, Cryptic Studios also does the Star Trek Online MMO, which I played last night. So, anyway, super excited about this. I think the show is fantastic. I can't wait for more. Anybody who disagrees doesn't know anything and should just go watch your old stuff and appreciate it. Go watch your separate universes of Darkwing and Gizmo Duck and be happy and whatever. I
don't think anyone has ever given that much thought of whether they're the same or not. But anyhow, I really enjoyed this.
Oh yeah,
I loved the adventure. I loved. Only I get to decide.
Oh, sorry. But,
so only I really, he has you have something here that was bothering you, right?
Well, I did fall the other day, but I'm fine now. But you did it several episodes ago. After I had a sunburn, it was right after the 4th of July. I had a really bad sunburn, and you kept hitting it, and I was just flinching inside. But anyway, that's another.
Only for several people to mention to me later. But I loved it. I loved the interaction with the kids. I had people tell me that they didn't care about Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I was like, what?
They don't have hearts or souls.
Right? And Webby...
You don't have hearts and souls if you don't care about Duford and Hubert and Louie.
And Webby was awesome.
Webby, she's a little OCD, but she's super knowledgeable, and she's trained for anything.
And she knew everything about Scrooge.
And the reveal at the end, spoiler alert, Dewey is in the room where he keeps all of his
oh my god! I saw it
the
coming.
Painting.
I saw it coming, but at the exact same time, it still gave me feels.
I realized what was about to happen right before he revealed it. I did when he first saw the painting before, and he saw Donald, and he's like, "Oh, it must be a fake," because they didn't realize that Donald went on adventures with Scrooge, and then he lifts up the corner of the painting. And he sees a picture of their mother, of the triplets' mother.
And that's our cliffhanger for episode 1.
And what? They're finally going to explain the relationship between Donald and Scrooge, who, by the way, Scrooge is Donald's uncle. So he's the great uncle to the triplets.
Probably.
No, that was in this episode.
Oh, they said he's your great uncle?
He says, yes, because he says Donald calls him Uncle Scrooge, which, that might not be anything, but somewhere it's clearly stated that he is the great uncle to the boys, and so I believe that means that Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mother is Donald's sister.
No, I believe that, of course.
And she's up there with the sword, and they're fighting that evil ghost.
Well, all pirate. I could think about is A, what happened to her? B, are we going to meet her in a later episode? And by the way, something else this show did that I really appreciate, Donald is a cast member.
Yes.
Unlike the original one, where Donald
Yeah.
appeared in 2 or 3 episodes
And a
tops.
single dad.
Yeah.
And I love that they rip off his sailor suit and put
Yeah.
him in the suit. He's like, dress for the job you have, and not the one. Dress for the job you want, not the one you have, which is none.
Yeah.
So, I really appreciated the show. I was very excited about it. I can't wait to see more of it. There's also a comic series out. We carry it up in the store that's based on this reboot. So I almost picked it up and read it today. We have issue 0, and we have some other issues too. So.
I love that all the mystical elements are in.
Yeah.
Because the first thing,
Oh, man.
the
The
first
first
thing I
thing-
thought about is I want Magica Dispel. I want Magica Dispel. That's
And,
all I want. Bring her out.
Little throwback. There was a magic lamp.
Yep.
What did the genie used to say in that movie? The DuckTales movie.
Oh, I can't
Anyway.
remember. But that was cute.
So I can't wait for more of this. Just one more throwback to the original Gizmo Duck.
Yeah, with this creator.
Just with Gyro. Just one of my favorite characters. My favorite superhero of all time.
Gizmo Duck.
Gizmo Duck. All right, so let's move on to what did we play?
Yay! Because I want to know all about Dice
Yes,
Forge.
and we're gonna play this right after the show. So
if we're not throwing out the store.
So on our demo table here in the store, we have a wonderful game called Dice Forge, and so. What does that sound like to you? What does Dice Forge sound like to you? By the way,
it sounds like we're gonna have a pool of hot molten stuff that we're gonna use tongs to make our own dice.
you are very close. You are 100% correct, except for the molten lava.
Okay.
Okay. And
It's
by the
molten
way,
metal.
molten metal. Sorry, it's too much metal Batman. Stuff
There's so
going on.
much metal.
So Dice Forge, notice the dark crystal-ish artwork.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the artwork in this game is absolutely incredible. Here's a top-down shot of the a top-down shot of the play area. So let me explain this. First off, one of the most beautiful games I think I've ever seen. Okay, the artwork is absolutely incredible.
Are those individual forge play areas? Like each of those is a forge?
So
That's
hang
what
on.
it looks like. That's cool.
Well, so here's the thing. So the theme of this game is that you and the other players are vying for a spot amongst the gods. You are trying to become a demigod, take your place amongst the gods, and beat all the other mortals out on this. And I will tell you, the theme doesn't matter at all, which is fine because the game looks beautiful and the game is amazingly fun and fast to play, and it is great. How you do this is through victory points. So you play a number of rounds based on the number of players. So if it's 2 or 4 players, you play 9 rounds. If it's 3 players, you play 10 rounds. Very simple. It's a 2 to 4 player game. And victory points are the only thing that matters. And how you gain victory points is you forge your dice. Okay? And this is a picture of one of the die. One of the dice. You get 2 dice. Okay, and they're like Lego Snap-on dice. If you ever played any of those old Lego board games, which were amazing, by the way, you start off, and it's a very simple die. One of your dice has 1 sun shard, which is what's pictured here, and then 1 gold on every other side.
Okay.
The other die has a 1 moon shard side, a 2 victory point side, and the rest are 1 gold sides. There are 3 currencies in the game that I've already mentioned. There's gold, there's sun shards, there's moon shards, and then there's victory points. And in the game, they actually don't have a picture of the player board, but you get a player board, and there's a little tracker on each of these things. You can max out with gold, sun shards, and moon shards, but victory points you can never max out. You just continue to accumulate them. There's enough tracking for 100, and then once you get to 100, you get a 100 token, and you start over. Okay? Very simple. Now,
Very European.
yes. Now, on every player's turn, you get what's called a divine blessing, which is you roll both of your dice. So every player on every player's turn will roll their dice and gain whatever resources come up.
Okay.
Or victory points or whatever. Okay? Then you can
So your
take-
dice aren't the victory points. Your dice can roll for victory points.
Yes, and then you track them on the thing.
But I thought you like built your own dice, forged them. So like, do you get it to like be a bet? How do you make a better die?
Well, here's how you do it. So on your turn, after you roll your dice, you get one action. You have a choice. You can either go to this area here, which is the sanctuary. Okay. Now in the sanctuary, you'll see that there. We can see it on this on our screen, but on you it's a little hard. But see, there's little circles with gold numbers.
Yeah, like 8 and 12. Yeah.
Yep. So that's the price you pay to buy those little squares are
Yeah.
plastic pieces for faces for
Which
your
some
dice.
of them look really awesome. That $12 market.
Yep. So the $12 one is a four victory point side, which is
Okay.
the highest victory point side you can buy.
Yep.
There's a choose one where you can get either 2 gold, 2 sun shards, or 2 moon shards. There's a get one of each. In the 8 cost one, there's a 3 victory point one and a 2 sun shard. In the 4 cost one, there's a 6 gold side, which is the only 6 gold side in the game. The rest are 4s or 3s or 2 or 1s. Now you go to the sanctuary, you spend whatever gold you have, so you reduce your track, and then you take a side, and then you simply choose any side on any of your dice, pop it off, and replace it with the new one, and put it face out.
Okay, I see these here.
Okay.
Right.
So this other section
Do you
here.
pay for those with different resources?
So this is the garden.
Okay.
These you get by purchasing cards, which I'll explain in a second. So the other option for your action is you can go to this other area over here that's behind you.
Okay.
And these little circles here are portals.
Oh,
So
they're
you
not
place-
forges, they're portals.
They're portals. So you go to these portals, which so in the sanctuary, more than one player can be in the sanctuary.
Okay.
But the portals, only one player can occupy a portal at a time. So there's a portal here, and you can buy these 2 cards. You can buy
Okay.
one of these cards, and they cost 1 moon shard each.
Okay.
Okay? Then they go higher and higher as you go. Okay? And if you scoot by, or if Adam, we can put up the graphic, there's one card at the very end that costs 5 sun shards and 5 moon shards.
Wow.
And in the base,
And it looks like a Kraken.
in the starter game, and it gives you 26 victory points, and that's it.
Wow.
Okay. Now these other cards here will give you one of 3 different types of powers. Either it's an instant effect, which you immediately resolve, and then you flip the card over. And then when you flip the card over, it'll just be like the backing that indicates which card it was, but there's no power icon, so it means you've already used that power. Okay, and every card has in the corner has a green number, which is victory points. Almost all of them will grant you at least 2 victory points. There's one here on the bottom that's a popular card that grants you 0 victory points when you purchase it, but it is the second type of power, which is a gear symbol, and that means that on your turn, after you roll your dice, you can purchasing these cards are called purchasing feats or something about feats. The gear cards give you an additional power on your turn. So after you roll your dice, you gain your resources. Then you can use all of your gear powers in any order you want. And this particular one is so this is a 1 cost sun shard, gives you 0 victory points, but on your turn you can convert 3 gold to 4 victory points. Ooh. And you can only do it once per turn, but you can buy more than one of these cards. So you can do it 2 or 3 or 4 times because there's 4 copies of each card. Now, so you buy these cards. Then the other instance effects are die faces. So that's where you would get these sides here. This one up here is a ×3 multiplier of whatever's on your other die.
Oh.
So one of my strategies is when I start buying faces, I start buying gold and victory point faces, and I load them all up on one die. And then on the other die, I buy them ×3 multiplier, and I try to get as many of those on the die as I can. So then I start rolling 3 times 4 victory points, 3 times 6 gold, 3 times 3 victory points. You know what I'm saying? So you start accumulating stuff, right? And then
holy cow! What if you roll 3 times 4 different resources?
you would get, so if there's one side that is you get 1 of each resource.
Yeah.
So if you roll it 3 times, then you get 3 of each of those resources.
That's nice.
That's really good. So then there's one die. So then so that's that's an instant effect is to get the die face. Then there's the gears, which are powers you can use in your turns. And the third one is an activatable one, which is basically will trigger when something happens. So for instance, there's a die face with these little pig faces, and that is a feat card that you can buy. And when you buy it, you take one of those faces and you forge it on someone else's die. And then when they roll that side, they don't get anything, and you get the benefit. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So it's an instant effect in that you forge a die face, but then when you flip it over, it's got the icon of the activatable power, which is whenever they roll it, you get the powers. So, but they can forge over it on their next turn, but they're going to waste
a turn getting rid of it.
And you've probably gotten rid of something good. So let's say I buy a ×3 multiplier or a 4 victory point side, and then you buy that boar face one, and then you forge it over the four victory points. I can never get that side back. So there's a set of starter cards, which are basically what you play in the base game. Then there's additional cards, like some of these more interactive cards with other players that you can add to the game or take away or switch out that are very cool. There's one card that you purchase, and it gives you 1 victory point for each die face that you forged that turn, plus 10 points, I think. So those are the 2 actions you can do in your turn. Now, if you move your character to one of these portals that already has a player on it, you oust them, they go back to the starting area, and you grant them a divine blessing. So they're going to get to roll their dice and get benefits for that. Now, if you have 2 sun shards or more, after you take your action for the turn, you can spend 2 sun shards to take 1 additional action. You can do that once per turn. So sun shards are very powerful. So then you continue to play through the rounds until the last round is triggered, and then at the very end, you count your victory points, and whoever has the most wins. And let me tell you, there's not a lot of downtime in this game because you're rolling your dice on every player's turn. So what ends up happening is that you wait, the one thing you're waiting for is for the players to pop the side off and put it on. That's the longest you're going to wait. We played a game, 4 of us played a game in probably 45 minutes. It's very fast, very fun, and after you're done playing it, you want to play it again because you want to do a different strategy, or you can add different cards. I mean, there was one day when I first put this out, we played it 3 times in a row, right back to back.
Ooh.
It was like an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes for all those games. It was 2 players and 3 players and 3 players. It was a lot of fun. And the great thing is, the only thing negative is that when there's fewer players, you have to really change your strategy because you're going to have less rolls. So there's one card here that's a hammer that when you buy it, it attaches to your board, and it's got a separate tracker on it. Whenever you gain gold, you can choose to put it into that tracker instead of into your gold. And then after 15 gold, you get 10 points. You do it a second time, you get 15 points, and then the card is done. That one's really good in a 4-player game because you're going to be re-rolling a lot. You're going to roll 3 times plus on your turn for every round. But in a 2-player game,
it's just a waste.
Yeah, so you got to do a different strategy. So I love this game. It's quick, it's fast, it's easy to learn. There's not a lot of downtime. There's some player interaction, and it's gorgeous and it's great to look at. One of the best inserts I've ever seen in a box. Let me just show you this. Oh, by the way, so in this play area, this whole square here is the box.
Wow.
So that big thing with all the little tile pieces is like a little sliding piece. It's got all the faces on it. So when you're done, you put them all back. It's got a sleeve that shows you how they all go. You slide it in, and it's got a nice elastic band that wraps around it. And then you set it right into the box. Everything packs inside. It's one of the most gorgeous inserts I've ever seen. All the dice go in here.
Oh, I love when everything
tokens.
fits in a place.
So let me show you this. This is the instructions on how to pack the box. This is the very first thing
Just
you see in the
layers.
instructions.
That's so
Everything
great.
layers in, everything has its place. You slide it all in. It shows you where everything goes. And then so when you go to you would think this would be a long game to set up. It literally takes 2 minutes or less.
Wow.
All you have to do is you unfold, you pull the board out. You unfold this board here. You put out the cards you're going to use. You pull out the pieces and the tracking, the player boards and the little cubes that you use to track. and then you set this, and you pull the dice out, and you set this board on top of the box, and you're ready to play. I mean, it literally takes less than 2 minutes. It's amazing. So I think Cliff wants to wrap this up and go play it.
I definitely do. Because we're hearing all about it. I'm like, I want to roll dice. I want to roll dice.
We got this on the demo table right now, and the best part is this comes from Asmodee. Okay.
Oh, who I already love.
Yep. They have a great program for they have a great online sales policies that benefit your local game store. This, I believe, the price point for Amazon. Normally, game stores don't want to tell you how much it is on Amazon.
Right.
But for this game, we're going to tell you how much it is on Amazon.
Because you can match.
It's $44.61 on Amazon before shipping. Do you know how much this game is in our store and in all retail stores? What MSRP is? $39.99.
Nice.
You're going to save $5 if you come in and buy it at your local game store, at least, if not more. And that's before if you have a membership card, if you have like a 10% off card. Alex, I see Alex in the chat room. How you doing, bud?
Oh, Alex, hey.
We miss you at HeroClix, but you're getting an education, so
that's important.
We'll be okay with that.
That's important.
And I know you like comics, so you should tune into this one every week. Tune into this show every week.
I talk a lot about comics.
We do talk a lot about comics. And I know you love Marvel movies, so let's move right into thought bubbles, to final thoughts here. So yeah, great game, great price point. We're gonna go play it right now.
Mm-hmm. Atypical on Netflix. Check it out. Random, not superhero related. I recommend it. I loved it. I watched the whole series already.
Awesome.
Right after I finished Voltron. I went from something childlike to something much more serious and adult like this.
So just a couple of quick news items. We're doing an ROC, HeroClix ROC, on the 26th. I was hoping we were going to be able to stream it, but I don't think we're going to be able to. But we are going to be streaming our Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional on September 2nd.
We can't even stream the final matchup.
It's we'll talk about it off air. It's a manpower thing. We don't. If I'm running the event, I can't be down to run it. I can't be down here to run the stream. So it's unfortunately.
And that's okay because I actually want to try and play.
Oh, good.
I want to try to play.
So that's coming up. We're going to stream our Yu-Gi-Oh! World Cup qualifier, World something qualifier. I think it's World Cup qualifier. Yeah. WCQ regional. September 2nd. We got an SCG regional that we're going to be streaming live from, I believe, Syracuse. It's a modern event, Magic Modern, Syracuse on November 4th. We've got the Comic Expo coming up on September 10th.
Sunday, September 10th at the Hudson Valley Civic Center in Poughkeepsie.
Mid-Hudson?
It's the Mid-Hudson Comic Expo.
Mid-Hudson Comic Expo at the Hudson
Valley Civic Center
that's a mouthful.
in Poughkeepsie, New York.
99% chance we are streaming live from that event.
Yes.
It's just
and if not, you should just be there to say hello, and it'd be awesome.
We're going to check that out. So also, thank you very much to Kerwin's Game Store for hosting us. We're live in the Kerwin's Game Store Stream Studio, the KGS network. And if you're in the local Hudson Valley area, stop by. We just renovated our store. Come in and check it out. We got comics, we got toys, we got all your favorite tabletop games, all your favorite board games.
More What If HeroClix in stock.
More What If HeroClix in stock now. Get them while they last. Also, What If boosters, everything you need. Thor's dropping soon. We're going to talk about that next week.
The Justice League card game.
Justice League card game, yes.
Which we should talk about because you decided you don't hate it.
Right, that's right. We got to play some more games.
Yes, but you didn't hate it, and that's the important part.
I didn't hate it. We're talking about the one from Panini.
Yep,
it's the Meta X.
Meta X.
Right now it's Justice League. Second set is going to be Green Lanterns. Third set, rumored Attack on Titan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Justice League Green Lantern.
It is a multi-universe card game. We'll talk about that possibly next week as well. We may even do a little instructional video about it.
Yes.
So stay tuned on that. Keep it tuned to Kerwin's Game Store, twitch.tv/Kerwin's Game Store, and our Facebook group, facebook.com/Kerwin's Game Stores is the name on that one. Follow us on Twitter, Tony on a Mountain, Clifford NY, at Kerwin Game Store on Twitter. I know
that's right. Well, things happen. Thank you, Alternatives, for my review copies of comics.
Alternatives, yes. I believe they have a Pokemon expanded League Cup this weekend, this Sunday. I'm gonna miss it, man. I'm gonna be here playing HeroClix, but that's okay. And yeah, so you've been watching Read, Watch, Play. Thanks for sticking with us. We're gonna go play some Dice Forge. As always, I'm Tony Cox,
And I'm Clifford Parmenter.
and we'll catch you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.